Yeah, so that's interesting. There was a Mark, the financial firefighter, had a live this morning with Brandon Potts and another investor that's in, I think it was in and around Maryland somewhere, but they have some crazy amounts on their Section 8 vouchers out there.
Did I hear 4,300 for Section 8?
Yeah, for a three bedroom. But this
Why
isn't
would
a,
you why would you rent out to somebody for 4,300 on Section 8?
I think it's just how Jersey City is with how they're evaluating the rents. So if you were to find a three bedroom in that area, it would actually probably be significantly higher than 4,300. It's
Yeah,
just
but that's like doing Section 8 in Beverly Hills. It's like there should be a limit on the uh amount of rent they give out every month.
it should be because like you could probably get not two exactly, but some parts of Jersey City, the Section 8's only 2,800, so you could get three of those people versus two in the 4,300. I think it's just based on how they calculate the rents that through the HUD data that they have to make the rents that based on what how the
Yeah,
market's
but
been.
Section 8 shouldn't be in all the higher end districts. I mean, that's like,
In Jersey, they're starting to force some of the newer properties to allow a certain amount for low income. So it's just how the system is here. I think that's why they're doing it. I'm not 100% certain though, because a lot of the new projects that are being built get certain tax breaks, but they have to allow a certain amount for low income, or they have to allow a certain amount to be rent stabilized or under rent control. When normally in New Jersey, you have a 30-year exemption from rent control. So it's just they're trying to like prevent uh, specifically people being kicked out too much and further gentrification by allowing some people on some of the programs. So like but the problem is you're probably not going to be able to find a unit that would accept that because the market rents in the area are higher to begin with. But if you were to find like an older building that just happened to be a smaller four family, you might be able to make that work in your favor in the short term. But I don't think it's easy to work because this is a part of Jersey City where you could find like a four family brownstone for like 3 million, but the rents are only going to be like 12,000 total, which just even if you put almost 50% down, that doesn't map out.
Yeah, it is in the So I'll just return this.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. They're even the Section 8 rents are even higher over in Maryland, Mitesh. That if you ever watch any of the, I think it was mostly on Bigger Pockets. Dr. Joe Asamoah, he
Yeah.
had some episodes, and he his rents were like between 6 and 7 thousand
Yeah, and
per.
his big thing I think was increasing the bedroom count
Right.
and bathroom count.
Yeah, and they were like you were saying, Charlie, about they'll buy the brownstones or whatever that are already 3 units, and then they'll build out the basement and the attic and make it 5 units and rent them all like that.
We just
So,
talked about that on my live today.
Yeah, that's what I was telling them, Mark.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Dr.
you're
Joe. Yeah.
yep.
so do they cover damage to the property? Because it's like for 4,000, that's a pretty not be a nice property.
I'm not 100% sure. I know a few people who've done it, and they've had lucky experiences with good tenants because in Jersey, they're supposed to, if somebody gets evicted while on the program, they're supposed to lose the voucher. So there's some sort of enforcement mechanism, but you could probably just have as bad of issues with them as any other tenant. But it really depends because sometimes if someone's illegally living there, the housing authority feels, oh, we can't punish the legal person whose unit it was because they had someone illegally living there, even though that's against their own lease terms. So it really just depends. Sometimes you might even get people working for the housing authority that just have a propensity to help the little guy versus the investor, and they're like, oh, you should be making enough money as is. We're not going to pay for the damages, even though
Well,
the programs are backing.
even 4,000 a month is not enough to cover damage.
It's weird though. In some of the buildings, like in a building where that would be happening, it's most likely one of the high rises, and they limit who you can use to do work on it. Just because if they do shoddy work and it interferes with other tenants, like if there's a plumbing leak and you used a guy who wasn't bonded, that could affect several units below you if you don't notice it right away. So they're very what's the right term? They have a lot of regulations behind it.
I mean, it all sounds good on paper, but the execution, I mean, you're renting to somebody that won't be able to pay on their own once the government. The thing with the government is like they change their mind all the time. And my friend, he tried Section 8, but they change the rules and they get rid of it, and then you're stuck with the guy not able to pay the rent, and then you gotta like
Yeah.
evict him.
That's
So
why I'm really concerned with how the rent system changed in Jersey, because there's also anti-eviction laws, and the anti-eviction laws are very tenant friendly in New Jersey. And there's a catch-all to, some parts of Jersey City aren't rent controlled if they're under four family, but statewide there's a blanket term for unreasonable rent increases or changes. And if you just happen to get the wrong judge or the right judge, you could get stuck with something. Because if the rent goes down by the housing authority, I would view that as extremely unreasonable. But the judge is like, well, the department that's in charge of the entire country obviously knows better than all of us. You have to listen to them. But it's not like you can even evict for cause. Then that's why I was very worried with that property.
How's everybody else doing? Monica, you were asking someone about, or you had a question about, was it seller financing, the deal you were looking at last week?
Yes, yes, yes. That was last week.
Did you
Yeah,
get help?
I did. I got answers, and but the deal didn't went through, unfortunately. The seller at the end, he said, no, I don't want anything to do with seller financing. And I was like, okay, well, I learned a lot in the process, but I didn't end up doing the deal because the owner doesn't want to do that. So we moved forward with a DSCR loan, and then out of the sudden everything was going well, and then the seller sent me a the real estate agent from the seller sent me a note email saying that the house was being the triplex was being sold as is, and I was like, but that's not what we agree. We already opened escrow. I mean, I'm getting a inspector to go inspect the house. So they said, well, you can waste your money, but even if they find whatever, we're not going to. And they told me we're going based on your inspection. And they said I was really picky doing the inspections. And if I wanted to get it as is. And if it's not, then I could cancel.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that was a little bit strange for me because that has never happened to me. And then I debated, should I get it an inspector? And they're like, why am I going to spend the money? They're already telling me no, as is, right? But even though they accepted the offer that did not say as is, there was 15 days condition. And but that's where I was at that point. And because I did have a lot of equity, I decided to move forward. I'm just going to get my own guy to go and do the inspection, which I'm going to pay him way less than what I will pay for an inspection. And by the way, he's the one who's going to be doing the job, so might as well. So when I was doing the inspection, there was a couple things that I noticed that it looked like mold. So my inspector came in. Then at the end, he told me it's going to take you about $50,000 to repair everything, and that killed the equity of that deal. And when I went back to the owner to let him know that, he's like, nope, as is. If you want it, good. If he's not, um, I'm sending my cancellation. So they did. They sent the cancellation, and I thought about it. And then at the end, I was like, you know what? Do not make a deal based on your emotions because you're in a rush. You're getting the house before the year ends because that was my goal.
Hmm.
And today, this morning, I signed the cancellation, and yep, a lot of work for nothing.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. I think, well, it sounds like you made the right decision. If they were being that difficult, it seems like maybe they were trying to hide something.
And that's what we thought, because even when I asked them for the leases of the places, they sent me two of them. One of them, it says housing authority. And when I asked them, is this section A? They couldn't answer me. It took them 5 days to get back to me and let me know, oh, it is not, but we're not sure. I'm like, what do you mean you're not sure? Oh, the property manager, they still have to review whatever. And so that was conflicted. Then when I asked for the last 2 year statements of the payments, I noticed that it said 28 late counts. And when I asked about that, and they said, oh yeah, they were just late on payment. I'm like, they didn't pay, for how long, when it was? And they couldn't respond to that. So that was another red flag. And plus, the tenant, especially this one that has 18 counts of late payments, um, does not know how to take care of the property. And that was going to be a problem for me to getting them out, right? Or
Mhm.
getting them to actually take care of the property, which I don't know how you can do that. And so I backed down, and again, I'm looking for a property. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen this year, but at the end of the day, I had to do what numbers tells me, and numbers didn't add up. As much as I was trying to force it, it was just not, after putting $50,000 after the down payment.
Right. And was that in Fresno?
That was in Bakerfields.
Oh, Bakersfield. Yeah. Sometimes it's easy for you to talk yourself into a bad deal, but it sounds like you caught yourself. I think, I forget who says it, but they always say, the best deal you do might be the one that you don't do. So I think that's where that saying comes from.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm never gonna know if it was a good deal or a bad deal. It didn't happen, and that's just what it is. And I just have to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Go for the next one.
That's right.
Are you working, Ryan?
I am, yeah. I'm sending out work text right now, getting everything coordinated well. Well, I'm working for an out-of-state investor. I think they're in Colorado. Their house is here in San Diego, and their tenant is going out of town for the next, I think, 4 or 5 days. So while they're out of town, I'm going to go ahead and replace the dishwasher, put in a Studer vent down below the countertop, and replace the water heater.
Oh, nice. Did you finish your deck?
We did get all the deck boards on. It's nice and beautiful, man. It is super gorgeous. I got that new track saw,
Oh,
and I used it to rip the very last boards that were meeting up to the border piece, because the border piece is another color. It's two-toned. So
mhm.
the last field board I had to rip into place, and man, it turned out so nice. Super, super nice. The Trex has that, it's kind of like a finger joint at the bottom.
Mhm.
So it's some of it has the void. Well, these cuts, this rip lined up just right, and I know I'm kind of speaking construction here, but the cut lined up just right to where I had one of those finger joints, to where I had the meat, if you would, to where I could use my biscuit joiner and just carve out a little piece, and then use the invisible hangers. So I used the same system that everything else was using on my ripped piece. It turned out really, really nice. Really nice, if I must say so myself.
That's cool. It's nice when stuff works out like that.
Yeah, it really was. And unfortunately, I didn't look at the order when I confirmed it. I didn't get a printout like I normally do. I like to see, I'm a visual guy. I like to get my printouts and confirm on the printout, okay, that's what I'm ordering, that's what I'm getting. Well, I didn't do that. I just went verbally and I ended up getting a little bit of extra material. And the material I got did not have that the groove on the side. It was just, S4S, if you would. And I needed that groove. Well, I needed two last boards. Well, I was able to grab I grabbed 6 of those extra boards, unfortunately, and I was able to use 2 of them in lieu of, and just use the biscuit joiner and make it all work. So it's all the same color, it's all the same stuff, but I was able to use the extras that I couldn't use anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I love that efficiency, man.
Sounds good. What brand track saw do you have?
I got the Milwaukee.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much. I had Rigid. I had a bunch of Rigid stuff, and I'm keeping it, but I'm phasing out and going to Milwaukee. And so rather than go with any of the other ones, I forget the other brands, but rather than go with something that I would need to get a dedicated battery to, I'm going to go the whole battery route and go Milwaukee.
Yeah, sometimes that drives you, right? There's what 3 or 4 really good brands that once you start with one, because I have a little bit of everything, Milwaukee, Makita, Matt laughs at my Ryobi stuff, but honestly, with my little Ryobi skill saw, I can cut straighter than anything with that, so I'll use it. Whatever it takes to make it perfect.
Yeah, I've learned over the years that each brand has their tool. Like Milwaukee has the Sawzall, and all other Sawzalls are called Sawzall because of Milwaukee Sawzall, when really Milwaukee has the only Sawzall.
Yeah, true. I went with the Makita because I have the Makita drills and stuff, but I tried them. I was going to get the Makita skill saw, but that thing is so heavy. Like I said, Ryobi, I mean, I've had that saw for probably 5 or 6 years now, and it's the original one that I bought. So as long as you keep the blade sharp, those batteries last quite a while. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. I had the Rigid the battery operated one, and it was not the business. The batteries were fine on other things, but it would stop intermittently, and I'm not like bogging it down. I'm being nice to her, nice and gingerly, but it would just stop right in the middle of a cut all the time. And then I'd have to cycle the trigger, or sometimes even pull the battery out and reset the tool, if you would. Oh man, that was frustrating. So that was the end of the straw. That was the last straw. That's why I went with Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they make a lot of good stuff. We use the PEX tool, and I have a small bandsaw, battery operated bandsaw, and things like that. Yeah, I tried Rigid. My drills burned up right away, my Rigid drills, and that was the last time I tried their stuff.
Yeah, my drills have been okay. In fact, I dropped my impact from 30 some odd feet and it survived. It's definitely wonky, but it survived.
It's still screw straight.
It's drunk, but it'll put a screw in straight. Yeah, doing a lot of juggling over here though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still looking to get that. Like I keep wanting to call an LLC, the nonprofit. I got to get that started and get going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounded like a great idea. I forget where I heard you talking about it. Must have been when you were on with Mark a week or 2 ago. That sounds like a great idea, a great cause.
Yeah, and I think it'll open up a lot of doors.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to just let us know again what that was for? I don't think a lot of these people have heard that.
So the nonprofit that I'm starting is actually, I need to go and research to see if I need to start a new one or if I can use my dad's old one.
Mhm.
From what I understand, a nonprofit doesn't go away. But I need to research that, see if I start a new one or use my dad's old one, in which he had one that was called Safe Streets Now. And he would go to a neighborhood that would have a problem, a nuisance in the neighborhood, and he would coach them and train them on how to build a small claims court case, collect all the facts and document everything, and then take that documentation to the homeowner and give them legal notice. Hey, this is the problem. This is what we've documented. Please take care of it, or else. And that was generally where it went, was the or else. He didn't go to small claims court a whole lot, and when he did, he won every case. That's the plan. Go and help people for free too.
Yeah,
No
nice.
charge for the service.
I wonder if Dion might have some information because he started one for the trucking company, right? That he was working for.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've looked into it. It's about 8 steps here in California. It's Clownifornia, I like to call it.
Mhm.
And I think 3 of them were going to be kind of laborious. The other 5 were pretty easy, like get an IRS EIN. That's from what I've done before. That's been pretty easy. The IRS wants their taxpayers, so they're going to give you a taxpayer number.
Okay.
Yeah, just things like file the name. Just a bunch of filing things.
Mhm.
But then there's the articles of organization. You need to write bylaws and figure out board of directors, and there's a couple laborious things.
Yeah, a little bit more involved than just a regular 1 or 2 person LLC, or LLC would be different, but
Yeah, I am definitely excited about it, though. I'll be able to take charitable contributions as tax write-offs for people.
Yeah.
So, so bring it on.
That could be a good thing. How are things going for you, Esther? Do you still have an empty unit in Washington?
Yes. Yeah,
And-
it's very, they say very slow because Eastern Washington is winter season right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very cold.
Yeah. And I think last week you were talking about your property manager trying to get the tenant to pay the cleaning costs because you had such a
Mhm.
high expense. Did they do that?
Yeah, so right now is in the collection agency.
Okay.
Yeah, so what happened is I talked to the property manager, what's the steps. So they are, if they don't pay, if they end up not paying, then they will garnish the salary. I mean what do you call it? Yeah,
Mhm.
the from the company. Yeah,
Okay.
the guy happened to be working for Boeing, so.
And how long of a process is that? How long do they wait
I think they wait 3 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they start garnishing his salary. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. It's too bad.
And I think you were also talking about your new place in Gary, and you were considering a rent increase, but you didn't want to go too high since you said the tenants have been there for quite a while, right?
Yeah. So the current tenant, they're not okay. So this is a learning for me also, that the whole process. I was in Japan too, so
Mhm.
the lease renewal is the end of November. So we're trying to purchase the property early November. So the process is quite lengthy to the to closing, because it's basically the seller is very slow to respond, and also the title company very slow to respond. So we ended up extending the closing date to the end of November. So at the same time, the tenant need to sign the lease, and we can't really back out either. So so the tenant won't sign the lease. They just keep pushing it. But in the beginning of this month, they give the property manager for 1,000. So we're requesting to increase from 750 to 1,000. Even $1,000 is still below market. And then the tenant said, yeah, it's too high. So okay, we put it, we give them 900, and we still not, I mean, they still not signing the lease yet. So we'll see. The property manager said that they might move out. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So, but at least we got $1,000 already for this month. Yeah. Yeah, it's just too bad. We really want them to stay because they're older people, and somehow they don't understand it. And my property manager tried to talk to them. They just not understanding it. So anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If they move out, then we get to clean up the house. It's a small house. It's less than 800 square feet, and then we can put it up in the market for rent.
Okay, and that was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. What is the market rent on that?
That rent is 1,100 to 1,150.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we could offer them as month to month, and maybe they need time to move out, so month to month. But I told them that I would like to have them to stay if they want to do, if they're slow moving out, I would like them to move out by the end of March, basically. So then we can hire a contractor to make improvement in the house. But right now, since they're already there for 20 years, it's a lot of stuff. So we can't really do much in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that would be a better time of year too to get the work done. Winter's kind of hard for everything, for contractors too. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now we're still making improvement, actually, like going to the railing in the basement stairs. We need to install railing. I told the property manager, it's not safe, no railing. There is railing, there is handrail on one side, but there's no railing on the other side. So they need to install that. Then they're gonna install it this week. I don't want anybody fall down or anything. And then the roof, they can work on the roof, actually, outside the gutter, in repairing the gutters. Yeah. So we can do those things. Yeah, the good thing that the price of the house is low, so we can have some money to spend for improvement.
Oh, good. Hey, Troy, good evening.
Hey, Frank. How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you doing this week?
Good. I'm tired right now. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
I jumped on. It's like, I'm going to see how everybody's doing. So.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Good to see you.
Anything new with you?
For us personally, not really. The property that Esther was just talking about is in Gary, and we got a Christmas card from our we bought a turnkey there with the Olson Group, and so they sent us a card, and it has a bunch of information, and they were talking about how raising rents has been a little bit of a challenge, and they're basically encouraging the landlords that they work with to be cautious about trying to push rents right now, that keeping a tenant is essentially better than having a vacancy, right? If the tenant decides to leave. But it seems like I also had that comment in school I posted a while back, and it seems like it varies market to market. Some people are saying they're still, doing their regular rent increases. Some are being cautious and not really raising them at all.
What do you think their reasoning for feeling that way is? I mean, from their experience, what are they citing caution on? They just feel like tenants have more options, or it's just the economy is just not stable enough? Like, did you ask them?
Yeah, well, this is just a letter they sent, but yeah, so it says, their advice to property owners, it says if you own rentals, consider competitive pricing strategies. Keeping properties occupied is often more profitable than holding out for slightly higher rents, especially in a market where tenants have more options because supply is higher and demand is lower. Offering fair, sometimes below top market rents can also attract higher quality tenants, reducing turnover and potential issues. It goes on to say, because of these challenges, let me reiterate what I have stated over the past 18 months. I firmly believe this is not the time to sell. On the contrary, market downturns often present the best opportunities for acquisitions and portfolio growth. Smart strategic investments now could position you for significant gains in the future. He says, personally, I am buying to hold, which hasn't been my mindset for 6 or 8 years. This may be a great time for you as well. So yeah, so just the market in general, but Cody was asking if we think the rents will turn around in the springtime. I think there's a couple of things to consider with springtime and the new president being in office for a while. I think that will affect things somehow. I don't know. I don't really know if it would be plus or minus, but I think he's going to shake things up a bit.
Yeah, I talked to the property manager in Eastern Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So how long is this? I never have vacancies in the winter time, and she said that come in January, people start moving.
Mm-hmm.
More activities come in January. So even though it's still winter time, because people right now, November, December is the holiday season. So in January, the kids go back to school, and I guess more routine, more people, start go back to work. Yeah, hopefully not too long.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I would think that there's a lot of factors that come into play. I mean, it's really. I think right now there's a lot of unease in certain markets in terms of the economy and jobs. I mean, if you're in a market that's got a good selection of jobs, fairly good pay for your area, I think the rent bumps you can afford to do, I think, but if it's in a market where I would say you have a lot more, it's a depressed market, sort of say, like the majority of the tenants are probably going to classify for Section 8, or they're just lower income. I think that's where I think you might have to be a little cautious on the rent bumps and how much you're bumping the rents up, unless you're qualified for Section 8 and you're trying to achieve that market, especially if it's a new acquisition and the rents were low. But with that being said, though, too, you got to remember, though, like when it comes to February, March, that time frame, people are getting tax returns, so they may have a little bit more discretionary income, especially I would say your Class C, Class B type tenants, even potentially Class D type tenants. They may, if they're looking to relocate to a better apartment, a better living situation, that may be why your property manager may be saying, hey, just be cautious. Especially, like, I know, like, in my market in Kansas City, and I imagine it is similarly for you, Frank, over in St. Louis. I'm not too intimate with it, but there is a lot of inventory on the market for first-time home buyers versus other markets. So that I think could be something to consider as well. But I think it's just knowing your market well enough, and what you're willing to settle on. I mean, if you're good with how much reserves you have and you're willing to afford to have a vacancy for 30 days or 60 days just to get that quality tenant and someone who's going to be able to pay a more consistent fair market rent, it might be worth it.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of that situation in St. Louis. Like I've been saying over the last few weeks, we have the 3 single families, 2 that we bought late summer, and 1 the tenant moved out of. She was a Section 8 tenant, so one of those is going on the market within the next few days, and we'll be shooting for Section 8 first on that one to see how that goes. And then also because they had sent me a payment schedule for 2024, and those rents were quite a bit higher than our property manager was going to list it for a regular tenant. But also I wanted to find out if they're willing to pay what's on their payment schedule, how much of that would be dedicated for utilities for the tenant, because that could drop it, what, $150 or $200. So if they're saying they're going to pay $1,375 for a 2-1, and part of that is utilities, say $200, then that takes you down to $1,175, which would be fine. In our case, the tenant that moved out was paying $1,150, but we got that whole $1,150 from that tenant, and she paid the utilities on top of that. So, I mean, if something,
that's that same thing, and I think that's a Missouri kind of protocol, I think, as well, because it's very similar in Kansas City. It's they have what they'll pay out maximum, and that's including utilities. So if tenants are responsible for water, power, gas, you got to take that consideration of how much that's going to look in terms of what their payment is, and if you talk to your housing authority, they have a pretty good idea in terms of what utility expenses are on a monthly basis for the size of a property. If it's like a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and if they're paying power, gas, and water, they're gonna say, you're looking at typically somewhere around a lot for about $300 a month in terms of utility expenses. So if they're saying 1375, then you're right. Your 1175 is what you're looking at in terms of what you can advertise for rent. And so, and I do know that tenants do have options to, well, at least my area, they have option to get some assistance too. If like say the winter months where the utilities are going way up, they can get assistance to help make up the difference for the utility cost.
Okay.
But there is, you know, I wouldn't say it's like something where they can, if there's like an extreme difference, because I do know that the lady I spoke with, she said that like if your rent that you're asking for in terms of Section 8 is too high, they'll tell you. They'll like, where we have a concern that the tenant will not be able to afford to live in that property because the rent is so high, and with them having to also take care of utilities, then there'll be an issue with them not being able to meet those needs. And so, but basically what they're saying is like, is there a way that you can reduce the rent in order to make this work for you? And that's basically what they're saying.
Yeah, that's where I'm hoping to get to be at least be able to have the conversation, because this is the tenant that was Section 8 for us before we inherited, and now we're kind of going into the whole system, trying to learn like you just described. And so that if we're advertising the unit for slightly higher than what a regular tenant would pay, I'm hoping we can get to that point where Section 8 says, you know, we have a qualified tenant for your property, but the comps in your area suggest this or that. And I think we would still end up higher than our property manager was trying to get. So
yeah, from my understanding is when you put it out on apartments.com or whatever platform you're putting it out there, you'll get tenants, because I know that I got tenants that asked if do you accept Section 8 vouchers, and at the time we hadn't qualified for it. I did say yes, where we would entertain Section 8. We would just have to get authorized through Section 8 and stuff like that, and then you would proceed. So if someone comes and views your property and you are interested in having them fill out an application, that's when you would proceed to contact the housing authority and say, I have an applicant here that has Section 8 voucher approval. I'd like to set up a lease agreement with them. How do I go about moving forward with this? And then they would basically have you go through the qualification process, and then the applicant would have to fill out an application and move forward. And so they would ask you a bunch of questions moving forward at that point.
okay, yeah, we're learning a lot through the process. I think that's a big part of it for us, because like I said, we do have the 3 singles right now, and the other 2 probably wouldn't be ready for at least another 30 days or so. So we'll have a chance to see how this goes and be a little bit more familiar with the process on the next couple. Yeah, so that'll be great.
Awesome. I might be hitting you up on that a little bit. I'm going to start the process here soon too, because I got 2 of my tenants, they'll be coming up for lease renewals at the end of February. So I'm going to start the process of doing the binder strategy coming up here in January, and then going from there. So, but yeah, and I don't know. I have a strange feeling that I think I might be losing both my tenants when that happens, just simply because I'm having an issue with the one tenant right now. With he had some bank issues and finances and stuff, so he's 17 days behind in rent. So he's trying to get that figured out so he can pay rent. And then the other tenants, they were a group of younger kids that were living in the space together, and two of the tenants left or moved out, so they're looking at probably moving somewhere else that's going to be more affordable for their needs. So it is what it is, and it would work kind of more ideally for us at the time to be able to get the approval of Section 8 and then market it for Section 8 as well.
Yeah, that that's been one of the things that's been discussed is like the timing, because our property manager let us know that if we were going to entertain the Section 8 deal again, that we need to get on their schedule for them to come and do their inspection. And I think
Should be easy for you.
yeah,
mainly
because it's
just
Kansas
all the-
City. In Kansas City, do you have to have the occupancy inspection too from the city or county?
I'm not exactly sure about that.
Oh,
That's a good
'cause-
question.
yeah, we did
Um,
in St. Louis. We had to get a county occupancy inspection and get that passed.
Yeah, okay, that's where they come in and do the inspection of the property and make sure everything's livable per Section 8.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. So,
Okay.
yeah, and that's just making sure that you have a safe place for them, because there's a lot of properties that don't even have smoke detectors.
Mhm.
Like, that's what I had to do in my property. First thing when we moved in, that we had to put in smoke detectors, GFCI, CO2 detectors,
Yeah.
and there was a couple other things that would definitely be a safety protocol. Oh, there was a light fixture that, there was a ceiling fan, 2 light fixtures that had exposed wires and such. So it was just, stuff like that,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, and that's good too. I was saying last week or the week before that I don't mind that kind of stuff. It kind of helps us.
that's a no-brainer in my
Yeah.
world, I would think. But it's surprising that, like, certain landlords just allow their tenants to live
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, it is crazy.
To me, I'm just like, that's just asking for a big insurance claim. You try to pass that buck off to the tenant. Do they actually have renter's insurance? Because I guarantee they probably don't.
Right.
And then the buck's on you. So are you going to pull an insurance claim? So yeah. Well, cool. Let me know how that goes, because I'm going to be starting to process that myself here soon. So
Yeah, I'm really trying to stay involved in the process. So yeah, I'll keep you posted.
awesome.
So for inspection like that, do you have to pay? Do
No,
you pay for inspection?
generally you contact them and they would send out an inspector to do. You basically set up an appointment for the inspector to come out there and view the property, and then they would come out and they would basically, what they'll do is they'll go through a checklist of things, explaining what you have to fix in order to qualify, or things that are, you're good. That's all they're gonna pretty much do.
How much is the fee?
I don't think there is a fee.
Okay.
The
And do you have to do it every time change tenant?
No, but I do know that certain counties and certain housing authorities will do an occupancy. I don't know if they do they'll do an inspection of the property, I think, once a year, which can be beneficial for you, because what if you have a tenant that renews their lease, or say you sign into a 2-year lease. Basically all that's doing is they're going to come into the property and put eyeballs on it and see the condition of it, and if there are issues that has been caused by the tenant, then you can be aware of it and get them taken care of, and some of that can be put on the tenant for taking care of.
Yeah, and for us in St. Louis, there wasn't a charge for the inspector to come, but we did get charged from our property manager to set up the inspection.
Yeah,
And
that's an appointment.
yeah, and I thought it was kind of high. It was $468 for us, for the property manager to set the inspection, to be there to meet the inspector and so forth.
Yeah. So, and some of that I think is they have to fill out forms that go to the housing authority, which probably was labor charge for that. And then imagine that was just a standardized processing fee.
Yeah.
For filling out, some type of legal form. And then on top of that, for arranging an appointment and being on site. So I agree with you. That's probably high, but it's a property management company. They're out to make money.
Yeah, no, you're making me think that now, because if we go with Section 8, they're going to have to do the same thing with the Section 8 inspector, right? I don't think so. We might get charged again. I'm going to call them and ask them now
Yeah,
because,
I would.
yeah, I think that's going to be the case. Anything they have to go open the door for somebody, they charge you for it.
Yeah, well, it's someone's, whenever they have to go out to the site, I imagine it's a part of their service. I mean, it's basically they're dedicating someone there to be there for an hour, and if depending on how far they're traveling. I mean, to me, so it's probably the inspector's there probably for at least an hour, so they could be even there longer. So, I mean, that could be cost them, 3 hours of being there. Who knows how much they charge for that service? It could be $75 an hour. It could be $100 an hour.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a necessary evil, I guess.
ask questions. Ask him like, hey, I see this $400 charge. Is this something that's going to be an ongoing charge every time I have a Section 8 qualified tenant, or is this, not? Then as well as like that. Out of curiosity, that price seems a little steep for me. Can you explain
Right.
why that's such a huge fee? Because I mean, being honest with your property manager, I think is how you develop a better relationship. Because it's like, I'm here to make money on my property, but when I'm having to pay $400 for an hour's worth of work, 2 hours worth of work, that to me really cuts into my reserves on that property when I'm just getting into it, especially if you don't have a whole lot of cash flow.
Right. When I talk to them about the occupancy inspection, Esther, they said they didn't need to do another occupancy inspection unless the tenant moved out. So whenever we get a new tenant, the county will come back in and check it before we rent it again.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm curious if they're doing that too. Are they doing that as an exit for the property, or is that before you move someone in for another Section 8 qualified tenant?
Well, they're the two inspections, right? So the county, not Section 8, the county does the occupancy inspection, and that one they do with every new tenant. The Section 8 does theirs every year.
That's right.
That's why you got me thinking. So if they're going to do it, if they have to be there to meet the Section 8 inspector, they might charge us for that too. So I'm going to check all that out.
You might even ask Section 8 because it might be just a routine checkup, because I think that's a part of qualifying for Section 8 is that the tenants are to know that there will be an inspection on the property. And it's a protection for them as well as it is for you as a landlord, because it's a protection for them to make sure that the landlord's not putting them in unsafe situations where they actually have maintenance requests that are not being attended to, and they're dealing with mold and mildew because of water that's leaking from something and that's not being taken care of. And then on top of it too, it's also a protection for you as a landlord to make sure that the tenant isn't like creating an unhealthy environment for them and for your property. Like when it comes to garbage and stuff like that not being taken out routinely, stuff that's like hoarders, or it could be as well as maybe your tenants are not notifying you of maintenance issues as well. So, there could be a bit of both.
So if the property not in the good shape, meaning like the tenant have some damage or hoarder or something like that, is the inspector gonna tell the tenant?
Yeah, they'll let them know if they don't.
Or the landlord.
No, Well, they would let us both know, but they'll tell the tenant if they want to keep their voucher, they need to correct the
Yep.
issues
Because they,
So
they have
that's for Section
policies.
8, right?
for
But
Section 8.
how about for the county?
For our properties, the county inspector won't come and check on them. We have to have our property manager do annual inspections. So right now, the property that we have in, actually both, the one in Gary, they're scheduling an inspection for us, and that one costs $60, she said. And then we're also scheduling one for our Illinois property. The one in Illinois is a Section 8 tenant, so I was curious why we hadn't received an inspection notice from Section 8 there, because we've had her for over a year, a little over a year now. So I'm following up on that one. But yeah, the county, if you have a regular tenant that's not Section 8, then I schedule an annual inspection myself, and we have to pay for those, but I would rather do that and make sure they're taking care of the property, like Troy was saying, make sure they're not hoarding, make sure they don't, like Dion was saying, if they're leaving food everywhere and it's causing roaches or rats or things like that, we want to stay on top of that.
Okay. So, but the county inspector, do they inspect again for the new tenant?
Before we can rent it again, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then yeah, so it's interesting. Have you guys have experienced that Section 8 inspector would let the tenant know about the messiness or all those stuffs? Or what I heard before, that basically the inspector go through the checklist, and then the landlord has to fix them.
If there are things, yeah. So I think there's two sides to that. So just say, for example, the tenant broke the covers on a switch or a plug or something like that, then the landlord, we will need to fix that, but our property manager will charge it back to the tenant, because the property manager has pictures and everything on the move-in inspection. So if everything was good when they moved in and they broke it, then the property manager will bill it to the tenant and it will go on their ledger. And Section 8 will know about it too. But if Section 8 writes it up, we're responsible to repair it. We just have to go through the property manager to get reimbursed for those repairs, for damages that they caused.
Okay. For example, the roof and then the doors broken. Something like that.
Yeah, like you said, Section 8 will write it up.
Or hole in the wall. Hole on the wall, and
yeah. So Section 8 will give us the checklist of things that need to be fixed, and then our property manager will go through and
build the tenant, huh? Okay.
Build the tenant, yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Cody, you said a while ago that you didn't raise a couple of rents because you're holding off till spring or later. I was wondering, on those that you didn't raise, were those month-to-month leases now?
So one of them I didn't raise because it was in a market that is a little smaller, and I definitely didn't want to have that one vacant. And that one seemed to be like on the higher end already of rents in that area. So I kind of just wanted to leave that one alone. And then there was a couple in my area that I kind of stayed the same on. That way, like down the road, I can always bump it up $100 or whatever at the time. I just didn't want any more vacancies through the winter, because I had a couple of vacancies recently, so I was just like, I didn't want to mess with it, and so there's at least 2 or 3 of them that I just kind of kept the same, and I believe they're all on month to month at this point. There might be one that signed a longer lease at that same rents.
Okay.
But then, then I'll kind of reevaluate come March, April on those ones that are month to month. I know one for sure that'll probably increase. It's at 1,100 right now, but market rent's 1,500, and I was going to increase to 13, but I'm holding off on that one until spring because I don't want to cause a vacancy in winter around here.
Yeah, it's pretty cold up there.
Yeah, we're getting 8 inches tomorrow. Fun.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm hoping the rental market kind of comes back a little bit in spring. Like it doesn't need to, go booming and increase like it did, the last couple of years, but just there's just not a lot of people looking right now, and it sounds like that's the case across, the whole country. In my area, I follow, Zillow or Marketplace just to see what's going on, and there's multiple spots that have rent decreases happening, like $100 a year, $200 a year. So I'm hoping it comes back a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really anxious to see. I was surprised that on our duplex in Milwaukee, they got tenants in right away. So hopefully they're good tenants. We'll have to see. But yeah, I was surprised, but they had it filled within. One of them was filled before the rehab was done on it. Actually, they both were. They were both filled within 30 days.
Yep.
So that was a blessing for now. We'll see. Good. Yeah, we'll see how they act.
What's the rent, Frank?
What's the rent?
Yeah.
They're 3-bedroom, 1.5 baths, and ours are rented for $1,350.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
They say right now people are looking into more like about 1,000, 1,100 kind of range.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller unit too.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, it's going to be interesting with these properties that we're talking about in St. Louis, because 2 of them are 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and one of them is a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. And the range that we got from Section 8, like I said, for the 2 ones is $1,375. For the 3 ones, it's like between $1,700 and $1,800. So when I ran our numbers when we bought that place, I was counting on $1,300 a month. So if we get that, it was a good deal. If we got something crazy like 15, that would be really insane for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Jason's question, I think that's part of it, staying where they're at. But I think there's a lot of families that are multiple generations staying together now, which I think tends to happen in economic versus, when things are better, they'll go out on their own. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I think that's true, especially these days, because, younger, well, not even young adults, right? Even some older adults are moving back home because of how expensive things are. And I imagine a lot of parents are okay with that.
Yeah, or even just like rooming together with friends. So there's, 3 people in one place versus 3 different separate apartments.
Yeah, I know here where we're at in California, that happens a lot just because rents are so high. And
yeah, agreed. We have a couple that I rent to that are multi-generational, living at the, same place.
Did you guys, well, a lot of you might not have seen it, but some of you saw Dion's walkthrough on the unit that his tenant just moved out of. And he was talking about it Tuesday, I guess.
Yeah, I saw that. And that's the one that let me see, the house that's vacant right now. I have similar situation, but not as bad as Dion. It's just messy. They have 2 kids. They had 2 kids, and they just looks like they just left everything behind. They just go. So we ended up cleaning up.
Yeah, I forget how many years Dion said.
Just 1 year. Just 1 year. Actually.
Oh, that was just 1 year for you?
Yeah, it's a new home. Actually, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we clean it up, and then we had professional people clean some more, and then yeah. So it's back. It's back to very clean now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so one thing that I learned that at that time we're so surprised when we got the house like that, so messy, and we just didn't know what to do actually. And Dion mentioned about he usually hires someone for $400 to take out all the junks out. And I had a guy, I had a landscaper guy actually that I've been working with him. Then I asked him, can you guys clean up all these junks? He said yes. How much does it cost? $325. I'm thinking, how come it's so cheap? How come it's so, it's so cheap, and it just doesn't make sense to us. And then on that day, we just decide, me and my husband decide, because decide to clean it we have a couple days here, because we come to Eastern Washington for 2-3 days. So 2-3 days we'll get it clean. And 325, we just feel sorry for the landscaper to do the work. How could he do this, and took us like 2 days to clean it up. So Dion was mentioning also that $400, and they can keep whatever they can keep, and then they just throw away the garbage basically. So that really makes sense actually, So next time when I have a house to be cleaned, and we could just ask them, because we kind of sorted out some nice toys, some nice clothing, children's clothing, their belongings. We just put in the bag and then put in the Goodwill. We don't really want to put it in the garbage, and so the other stuffs are no good. We just put in the garbage. But if that's the way to do it, then I don't feel bad about it to pay the guy to clean the house. Me and my husband keep saying, how could he say to 325 and take us 2 days to clean?
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have taken him that long, but yeah, I think like Dion was saying, his is a bit more involved, right? Because he was saying they need to walk down the walls and treat it with kills and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, ours pretty bad too, but it's not, it's not filthy like the one that like Dion has. It's basically no smoking. Ours is no smoking, just the kid stuffs. Yeah, and some food in the kitchen. they're quite messy in the kitchen. So
Yeah.
it's a learning experience.
Yeah, I bet it was. Hyder, on your comment, I think your parents are getting the very good end of that deal. Ryan said he built his little place on his parents' property. He shares the water and electricity, and in turn they have a property handyman. So that's a good deal for both of them.
Oh,
Yeah, and I was it 20 years? I thought it was less than that. I thought it was 5 years. Maybe the tenants were there that long, but Dion, I don't think he owned it for 20 years yet. I don't recall.
yeah, but he pretty much need to renovate the whole house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours just cleaning, basically deep cleaning, carpet, and all those kitchen, bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dion was saying he was thinking it would cost him about 10,000.
Yeah, yeah. Ours, the property manager hired their vendor. They call it their vendor, and then the vendor hired, other subs. And then they proposed like 5,300 for after we spent 2 days.
Oh.
After we spent 2 days cleaning up, so I negotiate with them and then get it reduced to 3,300.
What were they going to do for 5,000? Was that just the cleaning, or were they going to do painting and stuff too?
Yeah, painting, new blinds, and new keys, new door locks. They pretty much overcharge, so I question all the stuff.
You're pretty tough. I remember you talking about your contractor that helped you with your bathroom.
Oh, yeah, I deal with contractor quite a bit. But it's different when it's our own money, right? If it is the project, the company money is different, than our own money. So yeah, so it's like the blinds, they're charging us 600 for 3 blinds, $640.
Oh wow!
I say those blinds, I got it from Home Depot. It costs $30 each. I know exactly which Home Depot.
Yeah, they're certainly upcharging for things.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why I was surprised, but I was surprised when I was talking to our property manager on the triplex, and he was telling me what it was going to cost for us to get 2 new sets of doors. And I thought it was a little bit high, and he was saying, and it should be the case. The contractor's charging you to go to the store, pick up the doors, bring them to the job, and things like that, charging for the dumps and everything. And I guess I just don't charge my customers. Maybe I don't charge them enough, but and I know.
They should be able to have more than one project. They go there for 2-3 projects.
Yeah, it's not going to be a trip for every little thing. It's one trip for all the materials, and then just go and do the work.
Yeah, like my house is 2 blocks from Home Depot. So they can't charge me for travel.
They charge you because when they go to Home Depot, those people don't know where anything's at, and they have to find it themselves.
I know. Nowadays, I just order online. I just pick it up in the front desk. I don't have to wander around.
Yeah, that's smart. somebody else, I forget who was in our group that was saying they do the same thing and pick it up curbside. So they don't even have to go in the store. They bring it out to the car.
Mm,
I guess it depends what you're ordering, but
yeah. For lumber, I need to check each one of them.
yeah, that's what we were
Because
saying too. Home
they,
Depot, yeah. Well,
I
yeah, and
remember,
if you let their guys pick the lumber, they don't care what they throw on the cart.
yeah, exactly. So I go in the store and check them.
Yeah.
And
I don't
then
know
I
if it's like
source,
that
then I can
everywhere.
source them.
I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but Home Depot's wood is the crookedest stuff I've ever seen in my life.
That's what we were saying that night. I think Lowe's lumber selection is much better than Home Depot's.
Menards is better by us than Home Depot. I don't have too many Lowe's by me.
Yeah, I think most places are better than Home Depot when it
Home
comes to
Depot's
lumber.
like a joke. It's like, how could you sell this stuff?
Yeah, maybe if you're trying to go around a corner or something. But yeah, but as far as tools and stuff go, I like Home Depot's selection of tools better than Lowe's. Lowe's has, I think they have Craftsman, I think, and their brand, whatever that blue one is, but Home Depot has all the brands.
Yeah, just the lumber they really lack on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I always thought, I don't know if it's just me because I'm old, but when you ask somebody for something and they point like it's way down there instead of walking you to the product and showing you exactly where it is on the shelf, I think that's the way it should be. They used to have in their departments, they used to have actual what they called homers. And like in electrical, it would be a retired electrical contractor that was running that department who knew what he was talking about and could help you with your project. But now you ask one of these kids in there, they have no clue what you're talking about.
They purposely don't do that anymore. I have electricians that work for me that have had side jobs at Home Depot.
Really?
Put them in the electrical department. They'll put them in something else like flooring or whatever and train them for that. It makes absolutely no sense, but that's what they do.
No, it doesn't at all.
Yeah, customer service is a thing of the past.
Yeah, I think they're the same.
Yeah, times are different.
It's cheaper, no?
It's a shame.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, they have to just know how to use the app. What else is going on? Hey, Sam, did you fire a plumber today?
In fact, yeah, the way he presented himself, and see what happened was, I was asking for as I told you earlier, I was asking for their insurance, and he sent me, actually yesterday he sent me his insurance, and I said, okay, I'm gonna call the company, give them the policy number, and just verify it. And I did call them yesterday. They 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 say we cannot tell you if this contractor has insurance or not, because you're not certified, or you don't have, your name is not on the policy, or you're not certified to give you the information. So I told him that. So I said, can you certify me, or just tell the insurance that I'm gonna call? And then he said he said he said yes. Um, so he sent me this morning another another policy, or another copy of the insurance, and I look at it, and it has my name on it. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So now I go to call the insurance company again, and they say, well, no, we don't have like, we don't have your name. We cannot give you any information. I said, well, it has my name on it. And I said, no. Yeah, the information it doesn't have your name. We cannot give you any other info. I said, okay. Then I tell him that. I tell him that I called and they said you can give you information. And then he texted me and he said, yeah, I need to add you, and so we can reinstate the insurance, and the cost for that is $650. I said, like, how come, like, you just wanna, I just need a proof of your insurance, and now there is a cost, and you're gonna reinstate it, and so the whole thing was like just a game because you know when I asked for it, he just sent it to me, and then when I said, and then he added my name, and it was all you know just basically a lie, and so yeah, I just couldn't. I'm not trusting this contractor anymore, so because of that, and I don't think I'm gonna do business with him. Although his price was reasonable, but with these games he was playing, yeah, maybe not. So yeah, that's the story. That's when I text you. I said, "Is this
Yeah.
what is the reinstating for, and why is there a fee? I just need to prove his insurance." So thank you very much for thanks for just confirming my doubt with that today.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to do it. And like I said, when we talked earlier, California is different than, all the other states, but here, um, if one of my customers asks for insurance, like I told you, I just ask my insurance agent to email them whatever they need. And I can't remember the name. There's a name for the form, but it's just stating that I have insurance and that, it's whatever the dates that it's valid for, usually for the year. The bond is usually for 3 years, but and here too in California, they could go to the Better Business website, look me up, and it'll tell them if my insurance is current or not, or if I have any complaints against my company or any judgments against my company, things like that. And whether my
Yeah,
license is valid too.
yeah. So two ways. One is to call the insurance, and one is to check with the Better Business Bureau, right? There is a board, you said there's a license.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So here it's a contractors state license board. I'm not sure if it's
here you
called
go.
that in every state, but there should be a contractors licensing board in your
Yeah,
state too.
yeah, and like as a contractor, I mean, I know it may be different between California and here in Texas, but like Frank, what is the cost per year for this insurance? That costs $1 million, I think, or 2 million, right? Liability. Is it
Yeah.
very? Is it like thousands, or is it?
Mine usually ranges. It's not very expensive. It's about 1,200 or 1,400 for me for the year. And then my bond, you can buy that. If you buy 3 years at a time, it's less expensive. It's probably about $200 for the bond, and that lasts for 3 years. And
Here you go. So yeah.
Mhm.
So it seems like the cost was 650. It seems like here in Texas it's 650 per year or per insurance. And I'm surprised that someone who wanna have a plumbing license don't have this insurance that costs 650 per year. And and now he's trying to reinstate it because I asked for it. He said, like at the end, he said, "Yeah, I don't need it, but if you want it for this job, then well, this is the fee." I said, "Well,
Yeah,
I thought you had it."
right. And like I was telling Sam, everybody that our property manager needed us to add him as an additional insured on our policy for like the latest one was one of the single families in St. Louis, and it didn't cost us anything to add the property management company to the policy. So that's why we were thinking if Sam just needed to be added to the guy's policy, even temporarily while the guy's doing work for him, it shouldn't have cost anything, shouldn't have cost $650.
Yeah, Frank, the insurance said yesterday, they said he needs to call us and you're on the call and he just need to tell us to give you the information. And that's probably another way of doing it. Is that something that you're familiar with? So we both call the insurance and 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 they will give the information over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but um, but yeah, that didn't happen either. So we kind of he doesn't at the end he doesn't have insurance. He's saying he has insurance. I mean, thinking about it, even if I pay that 650, his cost was lower than the rest I've talked to. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is I don't like is the lie, like he's lying. So that's kind of that. That's what that's what well, that's what I didn't like about working. I'm about working with him in the future. So that's why I'm not gonna work with him because of
Mm-hmm.
not because if he was honest about it, I may be considering it because his cost was lower. But I mean, if we start if we start this way, I don't know, how it's gonna be. Although he's gonna pull a permit, so maybe the city will be like, on top of the work and they will take care of it. But I just have a feeling that, someone who just sent something and he lies about it, then it may not go as well. So,
Yeah, I think you should protect yourself and make sure you're comfortable working with whoever. I think if he pulled a permit, I'm trying to think here. When we pull permits for our license to be valid, we need to have insurance. So if our license is current when we pull the permit, then all of that is basically proof that we have insurance. But yeah, I don't know why he was giving you the runaround to help you with that. And I think you're probably better off not working with that one.
yeah, agreed. And like when I first talked to him, I had the feeling, I have a weird feeling that there is so much, it's too good to be true. And, but I said, let me just verify and get more information. And then, I felt something's is gonna be, evident at the end. And here it was, it was like something clear that there's something wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
like, all right. And I had this feeling that something is too good too good to be true about this guy. So I'm gonna just keep an eye, just keep asking questions and get the information I need. So yeah, and then I found out. So, um, you know, and this is, it reminds me with some tenants that I applied to one of my properties in the past that sometimes there's some information they say, but you have a feeling at the beginning that your gut feeling, and my gut feeling is telling me that this guy is something not right.
Mm-hmm. How about because you mentioned before you were going to get a plumber, and what about the electrician? Have you gone down that road with an electrician yet?
Yeah, I just talked to one today. I followed up with him, and on Saturday I'm gonna meet at the property with another guy just to have another bid. So yeah, no, I need I need the electric work even more. Like or they're both. I'm gonna need both, and they will have both have they have to pull permit. So yeah, today the guy he told me that he's licensed, but he's gonna still he still needs a master electrician to pull the permit. It seems like only master. It seems like here in Texas, maybe everywhere else, but it seems like only a master plumber and a master electrician are the guys who can go to the city, pull the permit, and then the other ones that are not master or what you call them, master electrician or master plumber will be doing the work, but they have to pay this guy to go to the city and pull the permit. But I found this guy, so is that maybe that's the same in California, but that seems like the case here. Because every time I talk about permit, someone tells me I need to talk to my master plumber or master electrician to go to the city pull the permit. So, is that true? I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, in St. Louis for us, when we had our water heater replaced recently, they told me to at the county that a master plumber has to pull the permit. Here in California, I pull all my permits and that's with we have plumbing, electrical, framing, everything on that. Roofing, I can even pull a roofing permit even though I'm not the roofer. So yeah, it's a little bit different, but in St. Louis they did mention that a master plumber has to pull the permit.
Yeah, it seems that seems that is the case here as well. But that's fine, Um, but I found a guy today. I talked to him. He's an electrician. He does it on the side. He works for a company, but he works on the side for himself. So yeah, that's one potential. And I'm meeting with another guy who was referred to me by an investor I know yesterday. So I'm gonna meet with him on Saturday. And yeah, the yeah, that's kind of the yeah still kind of trying to find a good electrician and a good plumber who will do it. So yeah, that's kind of the update on that. Trying to also find a roofer, so I'm gonna find someone as well, and hopefully that will be next.
Okay, good. What else is going on? Hi, Basilio. How are you today?
Good, Frank. How's everything?
Good. Everything's good. Glad to see you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Frank, quick question about Vegas. Have you heard if Dion is actually doing the Dennis gathering at night?
Yep, they are. They're doing. I think
Is it gonna be at the same Dennis like
yeah,
last time?
I think it is. He said it was the one closest to the blind center,
Okay.
and I'm sure they'll put the address out there pretty soon. But I think it was talking on his live yesterday saying that they're doing Wednesday and Thursday.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be there on Thursday morning. So yeah, I'll definitely be attending the one on Thursday night. Yeah.
Okay, good. Did you go last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a good opportunity, and you get to talk to a few people, than compared to the actual conference. So you get to spend more time to talk about other things with a smaller group, which is also good,
Yeah, it was.
before the conference, right? So that you can have more time to discuss other things, with a smaller group if you want to.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
big help for us. I know because you went to the same one we went to, huh? Cody and Mikey and I went on Thursday, and you were there Thursday?
Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, we met a lot of good people that night.
I'm really excited. I'm counting the days already. It's like, can't
I
wait.
know. Seemed like the year was dragging on. Now it's just a few weeks away.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah, good. How's your wife
Hey,
doing?
good, good. She was supposed to come with me to the event, but she's not gonna be able to. But hopefully the next, following year,
Mhm.
if Michael Sewer does it again, maybe she will be able to go. Hopefully, we hope
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So Frank,
Hey,
quick
wait,
question. Looks like somebody has a question.
no, go
Okay.
ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, well, not only for you, Frank, but like for the group, right, in general. What are you guys seeing on your markets, like as far as like the inventory and the prices? Are you guys noticing a lot of price reductions and an increase in inventory? Or what are you guys noticing? Like, are you guys finding a lot of deals out there for your markets right now, or?
For us personally, I guess I would say I've stopped looking for a little while because we have been going through some turnovers and stuff. So I can't, get excited and keep looking because we can't really buy anything for a little while. But um,
Yeah, I'm in the same situation. I'm just, saving money with my wife now and trying to build some capital
mhm.
before we are ready to buy the next deal. But I was just curious to know what the other people are seeing on the other markets, the other investors, as far as like potential deals and the inventory.
Yeah, I know. Well, as far as who's here tonight, I know Jason's been pretty busy out there. Um, he's been, well, he's in Chicago. I think you know that, but he's been putting in offers and he's had a few recently that he's looked at. He had an offer in. Jason, are you there? He might be working.
Yeah, no, I'm here. Yeah, they're few and far between the deals, but the ones I've been finding have been on the market for a while. I think that's part of the reason. And I'm putting offers in, so I have one going in now. I'm waiting for the roof to be to get a price on the roof, what it's going to cost to replace, and then I'll put official offer in. But he knows I'm waiting for that, the seller.
Mhm.
But now I'm getting nervous because everyone's saying nothing's renting and it's everything's going down. So it'll be my first set of 3 bedrooms. I'm trying to figure out how those rent. Seems like they rent pretty well, but so we'll see. Hopefully it goes through.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen a couple of interesting listings on my market. Like some good properties that seem to have some potential. But to be honest with you, I mean, because I bought my last property, the last property I bought was like 2-3 months ago, actually, like 3 months ago.
Mhm.
I I've been looking, but at the same time, because I'm building more capital now and saving money now to buy the next deal, I've been kind of like just looking just to kind of like stay within the market as far as like analyzing and keep checking for properties. But honestly, like even though I might find a deal, like I feel like I'm not ready right now because I'd rather have more money saved and be more ready for that.
Mhm.
Which I know is a slower way of investing, right? Because there are other ways to be able to acquire more properties, like if you use private lending, right, or some of the other methods that we have been taught
Mhm.
in the past. But yeah, I was just wondering what other people have been doing, like other investors from the group, as far as
Slow and
like
steady is
deals
my
and
game also.
what was that?
Slow and steady is my game also. I'm not playing with other people's money or none of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same way. So yeah, I understand. I know where you're coming from. Yeah, the way I see it is like I'd rather make if I'm gonna make a mistake or something happens, I'd rather be my money than somebody else's money, right? It's a different problem to have.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know too many other people that are, except for Monica. She was on earlier. She's looking to buy, but she was talking about that property in Bakersfield that she didn't pursue because the seller was being kind of difficult. But other than that,
I'm seeing a lot of stuff that's going for sale, but nothing that even comes close to cash flowing at a
mm,
decent rate. That's the problem, by me at least.
Yeah, and that's what I've kind of seen as well on my market. I see more inventory, but like the prices Like I haven't noticed a lot of price reductions on listings. So I just see a lot of properties sitting on the market for, many months. In some cases, even like 6, 7 months or 8 months. But I just don't see those price reductions that you will expect, right? Considering the interest rates that we have today and the time of the year where we are, where most people are not even looking for deals, right? I mean, most people are just on holiday mode now, not traveling or just doing other things, but not looking necessarily at properties. So
I'm actually seeing price reductions, but the prices are so ridiculous. No one's still biting at the reductions.
right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, like I see some price reductions, but still, when you run the numbers, like it doesn't make sense, right, from a cash flow perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
6, 7 months. That's a lot. That's a long time. For property to sit on the market. I mean, I'm imagining you can make some really low ball offer on these.
Yeah, probably, right?
That's what
Yeah,
I've been doing.
that's not in my market. Like 6, 7 months. So I mean, that's and are these properties you're looking at? Are they at median price or lower, or we're talking about higher than the median in your market that have been sitting for a while?
I think it's a little bit below the medium price actually for my market. But what I've seen sometimes in these properties is like when you call and start finding out more information on the property, then you start finding out why it has been sitting on the market for a long time. Sometimes properties that have like foundation issues or something that basically is discouraging most buyers from acquiring that property, right, or buying it. Because even though it has a big price reduction or might have some substantial price reduction, like the amount of work that it needs, still the price is too high in some cases. So they have to lower the price even more for a buyer to be able to buy that, and for that to make sense. I'm not saying that's the case for every single property, right, that is sitting for that period of time on the market. But in some cases, I've seen that that's the
Oh
case,
yeah.
where when you go visit the property, it's like, wow, the pictures was one thing, but then when you go see it, the property is like, wow, like it needs way more work than what I initially was thinking, right? So
Okay. Yeah. So there is a reason behind it. Yeah. Not
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
was.
always good to have that conversation because in some cases there might not be anything really bad with the property, that would be an issue, like
Mhm.
sometimes it could be just that it's just sitting there, depending on what is happening with the market and the economy, right? I mean, I would not think that there are a lot of buyers right now making offers. I mean, to the like offers to what really the sellers are looking to get, right, for these properties. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people are probably doing like low ball offers, but I think sellers are still not as flexible to negotiate as we are hoping that in the future will be the case, right? I think I mean, at least that's my impression, that's what I've seen on my market, um
Yeah. I was gonna say. I was gonna say. I learned something recently. Like I've been like the- I bought my last property cash, and I'm and with the amount of work that I found out, in it, and it's I, I I kind of it's something that I can think of now is it's way better if you buy a property that qualifies for any type of mortgage versus cash because that that means you have appraiser, you have a bank approving it. So basically, your issues will be much less than when you buy cash and it doesn't qualify for any mortgage. So so what I found out is if I buy a property with a loan, I am much more protected than if I buy just cash. And that proved to be true with this last property and versus the one before. And so kind of kind of what I this is like a light bulb now, and because as well as if you buy a property that have been lived in versus it was vacant, and usually when it's vacant, there's more issues, and usually when it's cash sale, there's also more issues. So there's no comparison. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm finding out. So you're more protected. We're more protected buying with a bank because they do all their due diligence. So they buy a property that is not too bad versus when you buy cash.
Yeah, I would have to agree because we bought one cash, but I still had an appraisal done just for my own benefit. And of course, we had inspections done. But I understand what you're saying about that you feel a little bit better with the process of having conventional financing on something. I even kind of slipped up because we bought it cash, and when we buy with a loan, the mortgage company is after you to get that insurance policy, right? But when you pay cash, you don't need insurance. So I actually was a few days without insurance because that was the first time we had ever done that, and I had to get insurance placed. Yeah, had to get insurance placed right away.
No, same mistake here.
Yeah,
Right,
I
right.
remember. Yeah, I don't know how it
It's
is
like
in
it's like
in
they
your
do
markets, but
they force you to do it right.
yeah, that happened to me before too. Like I remember my insurance agent told me one time for a property that I bought cash, and I was trying to get insurance, but it was like almost 30 days after I bought the property that I was looking for insurance. I remember her asking me like, "So for how long you had this property?" And I'm like, why are you asking me that? Like, just curious to know, like, why are you asking?" And she's like, "Well, because you cannot be without insurance past 30 days, or that will be an issue, basically, essentially. If you buy a property cash, you have no insurance." And I remember she said something about, having an issue with most carriers, actually. For example, if you had a property uninsured for more than 30 days, I guess they see it like as a liability or a potential red flag, with a property that had no insurance for more than 30 days. So that's interesting. I mean, again, I don't know if that's an issue that happens in other states, but at least here in Florida, I've seen that. I've heard that that's the thing, when it comes to insurance. Luckily, I have not, waited longer than 30 days to find out whether that's really an issue or not. But if my agent is telling me that, I believe her,
Yeah.
that there must be a reason. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, right now, like I was telling you guys earlier, I'm just trying to save money now and try to get back on track, because on the real estate investing, I want to continue with my goals and acquire more properties next year. I feel like in the last 2 months I've been kind of like sidetracked with other things at work because I'm just doing real estate, on the side. I have a full-time job, so I've been pretty busy with work, and I feel like I have lost a lot of attention that my business needs, my real estate business needs. So I have to start focusing or shifting my direction a little bit more towards real estate again, because we get so many distractions sometimes, right? On our day to day and other things that we got going on. So
Yeah.
Basilio, hey Basilio, how many properties do you have now?
10.
10. So with 10, I mean, I'm at 3. I have one that's a land now, but with 10, don't you feel that you already replaced your income yet, or how did that work?
So right now, I mean, most of these properties are cash flowing, but I I don't see the amount of cash flow with these properties yet where I could say that this will replace my income. Sure, if one day I decide to start paying off the mortgages, yeah, I could probably get enough income to replace my W-2 income with these properties, but that is not the case right now, especially here in Florida. I mean, most properties that used to cash flow in Florida now, that's not the case, right? Because you have substantial increases in insurance and taxes in Florida that we've been experiencing in the last couple of years. So, like, just to give you an idea, in some properties, I'm paying now twice the amount that I used to pay now in taxes. And that is the case actually most of my properties now here in Florida. And insurance, that's another, I mean, I'm sure all of you know that, right? That you have heard that Florida has like a big issue with insurance now. So we're paying a lot on in insurance. Yeah. So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, right now I have essentially right now I have a lot of expenses. So
yeah,
basically I'm breaking even in some of the properties now that used to cash flow just a few years ago. And which is fine because, I'm sure at some point we're gonna have a better situation in Florida. It might be just like it's just a period of time that we have to go through. But at the end of the day, my plan is to start paying off some of the mortgages in the near future. And when I'm saying near future, I'm talking about maybe in the next 3-4 years, I will start paying off some of the mortgages. So that way I could have some properties already fully paid to get more income, right? And then I'll probably just keep some mortgages. Most of
yeah.
my mortgages
I
are at
feel,
4%, so I'm not gonna pay those anytime soon because I feel like those are probably the ones that I'm gonna pay last.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So, but I feel like once you have maybe a couple of them that are free and clear, then I think that at that point, you're in great shape. So, it's just
Yeah,
the mortgage and all that now. But you hear stories about people who have maybe few properties and they're set. That's it. They're they they don't have to they replace their income. But I think that they can be um, they can be free and clear. They are paid off. One of these things. And but yeah, for us, starting, it still have mortgage and all that. So we just have to be patient with the process and and yeah, just make sure it cash flows. And
yeah, and I have a good income, through my W-2. I work in IT, so I make some, good decent money here. So, and I work from home too. So right now, like if I focus on replacing my income, that's gonna take me probably a very long time because I mean, my income is to the point now where my W-2 income is to the point now where I will have to get definitely way more properties than what I have now to replace that income. But again, I think the focus should not be, and this is something that I actually asked Dion and Matt the lumberjack in the past. Like what should I be working towards, right? As far as like the income with real estate, should it be towards replacing my W-2 or really covering my monthly expenses, right? Because we can always make more money, right, in our jobs, and then replacing that income with real estate. I mean, I think that should not be the goal, right? Because then it becomes harder to get to that income target goal. So I personally am focusing on like I have a budget, right, every month of all my expenses, and that's the number that I'm using, to measure, okay, this is how much I need to make with real estate and how many times I want to make, right? How many times more I want to make that money? Like the
Yep.
multiplier that Dion talks about, right? So like let's say if I have $5,000 in expenses every month, well maybe I should get to 15,000, right, in cash flow, or 10,000 or 12,000, something like that. Maybe that would make sense, right? But I think that would be a better way to measure it. And I'm just saying that also based on discussions I had before with Dion and the guys. Yeah. So and that's what I'm trying
yeah,
to do.
that's
But again, it's
and
hard, right now with expenses that we have here in Florida. It's hard, the cash flow.
Yep. That's my goal
it will
also is
make sense.
to get to that number. Not I can't replace my W-2 income. I don't expect to. But I don't need that to retire.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, basically covering our expenses and all that is what matters. I mean, covering what
Right.
what you need every month, and you have more of that, so that makes sense. Doesn't have to be replacing that income and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that's
because at the end of the day, if you think about it, like our goal should not be to make what we're making at work, because that's not taking us really necessarily anywhere. But if you think about, hey, if I can cover my expenses, that is really changing my life, right? Because that's really what I need. I don't need to make with real estate what I'm making on my W-2. because that doesn't necessarily change my life. And if anything, it adds more stress and work for me because now that we're talking about more properties that I have to buy, right?
Yep.
To get to that goal, and that delays also my retirement goal, right, to real estate.
And
So,
and
so
and and as well, sometimes it's also like having that income, and if you can just replace, like if you can with the real estate income and cash flow, if you can move from being a full timer to a part timer, like working part time instead of full time. I mean, that's a big step. That's a huge step to me. To me, that's a huge step to give you a freedom of, working part time versus full time. I mean, that's by
Right,
itself is an amazing achievement. If you if
right.
we if I can get to that.
Yeah, and like in 2, 3 years, I'm thinking about like maybe start moving towards like I will probably continue working maybe for another year or two, but I want to start like doing more like contracts or working like maybe let's say 6 or 8 months out of the year because we have a lot of those type of jobs in IT where we can just get into contracts for X amount of months. That way I don't necessarily have to be full time, right? Working the entire year. And then eventually start moving towards, just full time real estate and then become like Dion, right? Where I'm just traveling
Yeah,
and enjoying life. I don't want a lot of properties because I want to be able to like I'm not trying to create another job for me with real estate, right? I just want freedom. So I think hopefully I'll be able to obtain that right through a decent amount of properties that is not too much, but at the same time enough to be able to get to that goal, on the cash flow that we need.
I saw a post this week. Somebody had 70 properties, and they said they were retired. And I commented, that's not retirement.
Yeah. Yeah, because I will tell you, man, like if I get to the end of this journey in real estate and I see that I have a lot of income now through real estate, but I don't have freedom, I feel like the whole the whole thing, like I will feel like that defeated the purpose of what I was trying to do in the first place, if I have to all of a sudden now be so busy with real estate where I don't have the freedom and I will be working as much as I'm working today on my W-2. If that were to happen, definitely I will sell a lot of properties. Like if I had that many properties, because
Thing with
again, I'm looking for freedom, not for more work.
yeah, thing with W-2 or 1099 income is you have control, whereas with real estate you do not. You're much less. There's much less control with real estate, and that's what stresses me out and frustrates me. Is that part of it?
Yeah.
Anyways,
So
I think about it the other way.
well, because IT to me is much easier than real estate.
Well, so to me, being at work and going every day and doing what other people want you to do, whether you want or not, and having to deal with people, how dealing with people is. I feel like real estate is is actually the other way, actually. But that's to me personally. I feel it's easier than going to work every day and do the W-2 job. But that's probably just me. So yeah, I mean
No, I agree.
it may vary.
yeah, I agree with you, but there is a right way of doing, like the way I see it is like there is a right way of doing real estate to obtain freedom, and then there is the wrong way, right? Like if you don't create a system and processes and you don't establish those on your real estate, you could definitely have a lot of work and not necessarily see the benefits of real estate that you are really seeking, right? So that's why like I've never been interested, like for example, in doing like property management and some other things with real estate that maybe those are things that it might work for some people depending on what your goal is. But me personally, like I want a property manager. I want to make sure that I have as much flexibility and independence from the real estate, even though I know there are certain things that I have to do because it is these are my properties at the end of the day. So of course I have to make sure that things are being taken care of. But at the same time, I'm not I'm not trying to replace my W-2 with real estate because I know some people, like I have some friends that they do invest, but they have become like property managers and then they have the real estate company or like the brokerage that's different, right? Like I'm not looking for something like that, for example. I'm just, looking at maybe buying, let's say 20, 30 something properties in the future where maybe that number will be enough, that amount of property will be enough for me to get the amount of money that I want. And then, yeah, sure, I will have work with these properties, but definitely that will not even probably 30% than the amount of work that I have with IT today, especially what I do. I work in engineering. So like I can get phone calls at night and every day I have to be, on the computer at a certain time. That's not going to be the case, right? With real estate, especially if I don't buy a lot of properties. And as long as I create the right systems and I put the right systems in place, um, nowadays we shouldn't have a situation where this is becoming a headache from that perspective, right? Like I think it's just a matter of finding the right system that works and making sure that you have everything organized, Like I still have to get organized on a lot of things,
If you really want to retire, yeah, the property manager is the key to all of that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because if I have to be driving to the properties all the time, and I live like 2 hours away from the market, and I have to be getting these phone calls all the time. And again, with 10 properties, to be honest with you, like if I didn't have to do IT anymore, the issues that we have in these properties today, I wouldn't have to drive every day, so I still will have more freedom than with the W2. But yeah, when you start scaling up, you definitely want to have all these systems in place, right, including the property manager, right? I don't want to be the one getting that phone call, when the toilet is not flushing anymore.
You have a bunch of properties, you get rid of the ones that are headaches, and then you keep the good ones, and then over time you retire with those.
Yeah. So that's the plan, Since I'm not gonna buy a lot of doors, I'm gonna pay off some loans so that way I can force cash flow,
Yeah, hopefully you retire before the property manager does.
Yeah, I hope so. That's another thing. That's another thing that I've been thinking about. Like I need to create my B team, for lack of a better word. Like I need a second team, especially for property management. Like we should have redundancy, right? And a plan B for that, because what happens if you all of a sudden have an issue with your property manager and now you got to look for a new one, which I know that has happened to a lot of people, right? In the past.
Yeah.
We should have another good one that you maybe give a few properties to.
ORAD is pretty good. You can just ask around for property managers.
Yeah. So
you guys are reminding me because Coach Carson had that example of the 3 couples, right? And they were all real estate investors, and how the ones who had the least were the ones who had the most freedom.
Yeah, Coach Carson. I remember actually he had that presentation last year, right?
Yeah.
Where he was talking about the freedom that you can get with less properties, and not necessarily having more doors gives you more freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're going to be getting phone calls or canceling trips because you got to go take care of these doors, right? So yeah.
So
there have to be a number, there has to be a number that is not like too small, but it's not like there has to be a threshold. I bet you it's probably between 30 to 50 properties. I heard that after 50 doors, that's when things can start getting, a little more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need that many.
But I don't think you need that many either.
Basically get fewer properties, but with higher rent is what he's saying. Is that right?
Well, in his example, there was 3 couples that took a vacation together, and 2 of the couples had quite a big like real estate business, and they were wanting to extend the vacation, but the 2 that had the larger businesses couldn't because they had to come back home and handle business. And the couple that had the lower portfolio count had more freedom. That was his story. I think he tells it too on his channel. You might be able to find a video.
Yeah, you really need enough to retire on to pay your bills and have a little extra, right? You don't want to like overdo it.
Yeah.
Basilio, how long have you had your properties for?
I started investing in 2019, so it's been almost 5 years now.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you still like Deanne basically is like 10 years, so you still have plenty of time to grow.
Yeah, that's the time that I'm
You know,
planning
for
to
the
put.
rents to grow.
Yeah, that's the amount of years that I was thinking that I will continue acquiring, like 4 or 5 more years, and then I want to start paying off some of the mortgages. Because I really don't want to stay in IT security, which is what I do during the day. I don't want to be, really old working on that. It's a very stressful job, and I like it, but I'm not necessarily super passionate for it either. That's another reason why I, I feel like, technology changes so quickly, right? And keeping up with technology is very challenging and hard overall, especially if you're not passionate for it. That right now I feel like I need to start working more towards my real estate goals and get to the point where I can start shifting, to more real estate, um, my real estate business than the W2. Yeah. So I definitely have a lot of reasons why I want to continue buying more rentals, and that's one of them. That I like my job, but I'm not necessarily super passionate for my W2 job. So that's another reason why I know I feel like, like clock is ticking, like I know at some point, I might be obsolete, even in security, because I'm not necessarily that guy that is like spending a lot of hours at night studying or doing a lot of things with the security.
Did you have that property that burnt down? Was that you?
No.
Okay, that was
Yeah,
someone
no.
else.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, it's challenging, to do both things at the same time. But the good thing is that at least we know that we're working towards something, right? At the end of the journey, that is gonna give us
Yeah,
freedom, hopefully, right?
I'm doing
Yeah.
the same thing. My job is extremely stressful. It doesn't, I mean, I still enjoy it, but it's very stressful. So it's half, it's basically 18 to 16 hours a day. And then I do this at night, the real estate, because I have to quit when I'm 55. I got 7 years left to go. Then I'm done.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm 40
So,
now. I'm 40 years old now, and I'm hoping that maybe buying for 3, 4 more years, I'll be 44. So if I start paying some mortgages, 2, 3 years after, hopefully I can retire by maybe 46, 47 around that time, or at least move to another job in IT where now I have less stress and it's like a part-time or contract, something like that, where now I have more freedom.
I haven't really
Yeah,
thought
that's
about
a
paying
beautiful.
any properties off. I'm just planning on acquiring more.
Because another thing that I noticed too is that you can keep buying properties, but unless you're buying them cash, is that really moving the needle from a cash flow perspective? I mean,
It should
if
be.
well, that's the thing. Like right now, yeah, sure, I'm getting a little more cash flow, but at some point, for example, I'll give you an example. If I go now and I buy a property, right? I'm getting what, 200-300 bucks cash flow every month. At some point, if I pay a mortgage, that's gonna give me twice or 3 times actually that cash flow, right? That the other property is giving me.
No,
So,
I agree with you there, but like Dion said, he paid his one off and it cost him $1 million because he could have been buying more property.
but
I kind
again,
of look
yeah,
at it that
that
way.
that yeah, but that goes back to what is your goal, right? Depending on what stage of your journey you are, that might be important for you or not, right? When I
Mhm.
have enough properties, when I can pay mortgages and that gives me the cash flow that I need, I don't care about losing a million because I'm not looking here for appreciation or becoming more wealthy. I'm looking for becoming free, and that's my main goal, But I guess it depends what your priority is at that time, right? And then that's when that decision makes sense, whether you want to put that money towards buying more properties or just start paying off some of the properties that you have to make more cash flow.
So if you're in a growth mode, then that money is useful to buy more properties instead of paying it off. But
Right.
if you have enough, and now it's time maybe to pay down and get that cash flow and get the properties paid off. So there's a different goal.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you. Like right now, for example, I would not do what I was telling you about by paying the mortgages. Like I would not pay any of the mortgages right now because I'm on growth mode. But at some point, I'm gonna have to shift to the other mindset of paying some of the mortgages
Oh yes, some like
especially
your
especially if like 2 3 years down the line I run the numbers and I see that I'm only getting 3,000 in cash flow. I cannot retire on that money, so then I'm gonna have to start paying some mortgages. Otherwise, I mean, how many more properties will I have to buy, right? After 3 years, after three
yeah. I
more
see
years
your
of
point
buying
there.
property. You see my point? Like I know, like for example, I know that in 3 4 years, most likely there are very high chances that I will be making definitely more cash flow because I have more properties, but it will not be enough to retire. And and I will have to make a decision whether buying more properties will get me to my cash flow goal or paying the mortgages, one of the two. And I think I'm gonna come to that realization at that point in time where that I'm gonna see that, hey, you know what? Paying the mortgages is gonna definitely get me sooner to that cash flow goal,
And
and
some people do
and
do that.
yeah,
Like you,
yeah, and that's why Coach
they'll sell
Carson
a
talks about
property.
that too. Yeah, yeah.
They'll sell a property to pay other properties off, which makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. And Coach Carson actually has some videos about that, where if you don't want to buy a lot of properties and get to your cash flow goal and retire, young, and early, like you can just take that approach too, where you just pay some of the mortgages. You don't have to pay them all. I mean, it takes time, right, to also pay the mortgage. I mean, um, but definitely when I have run the numbers, like it definitely makes sense, especially
Yeah.
if you're looking for cash flow and retire, like
Yes.
I mean that's just my opinion. I mean that's just my point of view, but I know everybody's goals are different, right? I mean, depending on what you want to do. Might make
No,
sense
that
or might not sense. Yeah.
we all need to look
I
at
like
everything
Coach.
to figure it out.
Yeah, I like Coach Carson, but I especially like um, his conversation with his mentor. His name is John Schaub, and it's really really interesting what John also has to say. And yeah, so and he talks about what Coach Carson talked about, but he has also his own approach and how he has selective number of properties and how he enjoys managing that with no headache. And so it was just I enjoy listening to Coach Carson mentor as well, and he because he has these videos with him on his channel. His name is John Sharp, and really interesting information.
Oh, thanks. I have to look for that. I didn't see those.
Yeah, he's definitely a really good mentor. Yeah, I love his videos.
Mhm.
He explains things very easy, and he goes into very details, a lot of details, and explains how to get to those goals. Like it's really, those are really good videos to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of fell into, and I know our properties that are at much lower price points, but we bought two cash, and I can see what you're saying, Basilio, because the cash flow on those two properties is very good, and it's actually helped us get through, some of the tougher times right now. We're going on year 4 too. And what you guys were talking about earlier, you said you're going to keep buying for another 3 years, and all these properties that you originally purchased are going to be 3 years older, and your cash flow is going to be that much better. But and Cynthia and I always talk about we're closer to retirement age than most of you. So I do think, because we have 6 properties for $10 right now, and I just imagine if they were all paid off and what the cash flow would be, if that could be done today, we could probably retire now. But it is hard having that much money tied up in a property, um, when you could pick up, if you put a loan on it, you could take out money and pick up another property or two. But it's kind of fun to picture it as if they were paid off, and what that would do to your monthly cash flow.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. And also, I think also this depends on the market that you're in. Like for example, in my case, even if the rents go up in the future, so are the taxes and the insurance in Florida. At least that has been the case for my market, right? So at the end of the day, like buying more properties is not necessarily giving me way more cash flow, because most of the properties, they are not cash flowing now, and especially with all the increases on the expenses that we have in insurance and taxes. That's another reason why looking at paying the mortgages, not now, but at some point, some of those mortgages, it does make sense to me, especially if I want to retire. When I look at, hey, 5 years from now, what is going to give me more fulfillment in my life and happiness? Is it going to be being able to pay the mortgages and have more cash flow, or is it going to be, hey, look, I have 10 more properties, but I'm still working during the day and I'm tied to this W2 job for another 5, 10 more years? I want to go with option one all day,
What about
because
you?
I'm trying to find freedom, right? Like, freedom is my main goal, like.
Mhm.
And when I say freedom, I'm not talking about sitting in the couch and watch Netflix all day. I'm talking about having the freedom of being now able to choose what I want to do with my life, and have more flexibility, right, on what I can do and how I want to live my life, right? Not being tied to a job necessarily, right?
Right.
If I don't want to.
You make me wonder, so if in your market, if your properties were paid off and just say taxes and insurance keep going up, that that might mean you would still need another few properties to offset the taxes and insurance, though, wouldn't it?
Maybe. I haven't gone through those scenarios yet, so I would not be, of course, able to say whether that would be true or not. But yeah, it's a possibility, right?
I guess that could happen to any of us, but it seems like your market in particular, yours in Texas and places like that, where
Yeah,
property
it's one of the
taxes.
worst places, right? If not the worst one in the entire country, for taxes and insurance increases in the last couple of years. So it's a big reason why I'm thinking about doing that also in the future. Because what other option do I have? I mean, I can start managing my property, so I save some money there in property management, which I don't want to do that. Because again, that goes against freedom, right? If you start managing properties, because now it's more work, and I already got plenty of work during the day, right, with my W2. So yeah, I mean, I could buy more properties, but I gotta be careful with that too, because I don't necessarily want to buy too many doors where I get to the point where, I just have more work. But I guess it depends, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself and everything, I mean, let's see what the future brings. But I would like to get at least to 30 properties, that if I have to give you a number, I would say I would like to have at least 30 doors.
Mhm.
But no more than 50. I'll put it to you that way.
Hey,
Because I feel like
Basilio,
yeah.
have you seen consistent cash flow at this point? Now that you're
Sorry,
5 years in?
sorry, what was that question again?
Have you seen consistent cash flow now that you're at this point?
Yes and no. To be honest with you, at some point I had some consistent cash flow, and then a lot of things have happened. From increases on the taxes and insurance to also some of the properties had issues and big expenses that I had to cover with my own money,
Mm-hmm.
because when I bought the properties, I did the rehab and everything, but then there were surprises or things that came up after some time. With things like, for example, septic tanks, right, that were working fine, and then all of a sudden I gotta replace the drain field, and that's $7,000 or $8,000 to replace that drain field.
Yep.
I'm just giving you an example, of something unexpected that happened in one property, which again, long term you recover that money and you cash flow on these properties, but yeah, I will tell you that right now, like Suber says, sometimes like the first 5 years they suck, right? You feel like you're not doing anything. If anything, you're just coming out of pocket to pay for a lot of
Spinning your
things, right?
wheels.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I hear
to
you.
answer your question, yeah, I haven't seen a lot of consistency, on that because of the expenses.
Yeah, it sounds like we're kind of in a similar spot. Same thing. Like, in theory, it should be cash flowing. 2,500 to $3,000, but I haven't seen that stability yet.
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you. There's got to be something to kind of move the needle to get the cash flow more consistent, and I don't know if that's just more time or paying off a mortgage or something to kind of get over that hill, right? Like, to get to the other side where things are a lot more consistent.
Yeah, like the way I see it is like I personally feel like if I'm not gonna buy a lot of doors, like I need to definitely have a lot of cash flow on each of these properties where I can cover these unexpected expenses that I'm seeing a lot of times with taxes, insurance, and just different things in the property. Like issues with the roof sometimes, roofs that are not even supposed to be replaced yet, or something happened with the roof and all of a sudden you gotta replace the roof or the septic tank. That's another expense that honestly I'm trying to get rid of some of my septic tanks because I do have a couple of properties on septic. And then eventually long term I'm gonna do that because it makes sense, right? To just connect to the city. But in some of the properties there they don't have city available, like you have to stay with the septic tank until they make it available. And in my market, actually, most of the properties are on septic. It's a lot of properties that are on septic. So that's just an example, just to give you an idea on why I'm thinking like if I pay my mortgages in the future, even if I were to have those big expenses, I think because of the high amount of cash flow that I'll be getting, since my biggest expense is already covered, already paid, which is my mortgage, um, that will allow me to be able to sustain even a lot of expenses and be able to still cash flow enough to be able to live off of the real estate. Unless you want to buy a lot of doors and then yeah, sure, you make little cash flow from so many doors and then yeah, you have enough, right, to cover expenses and live off of that. Yeah.
What
Yeah,
do
I think
you? Oh, sorry, Cody. Go ahead.
yeah, I agree with you there. Like at some point, the amount of doors will eventually like be to the point where just law of large numbers. Eventually, it'll just like spit off enough where it'll be fine. It just depends on how far you want to go there.
Yeah. And Cody, how many doors do you have now? Just curious.
18.
18. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, thanks. But I feel like it's just a constant up and down battle. Like to get a consistent month has been tough. Not sure if you feel the same way at this point, but it is still at that point where it's not to the other side where you can rely on 3,000 a month or 2,000 a month.
Yeah,
I,
no, I
I
hear
was
you. I hear you. Yeah.
I was curious. I was curious how much do you guys after these couple of years or this year keep in for each property as a reserve before before you use that money, or if you have any cash flow coming after that reserve, use it for something else. Like, do you guys keep how much the amount you keep per property, uh, just to keep as a reserve?
I wasn't able to catch that. Can you repeat that again, or somebody can just tell me what he was saying because I couldn't hear him well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The question is, how much do you keep per property as a reserve? From your, let's say you have a tenant, or you have this property for 5 years now. It has it has rented for that time. You have money in the bank. How much of that money you keep for that property as a reserve for future maintenance?
We're talking about the reserves for the properties. So I'm trying to keep like 3 months of the rent per property. Ideally, eventually, it should be like 6 months. At least that's what I would like to do. But then when you start buying more doors and you start saving that kind of money for reserves, then it becomes a big amount, right? That you have to think about whether you really need to save that much money. And I will answer this question like specifically to what I have today, right? So today I have like about 30,000, 25, 30,000 that I'm keeping in reserves for these 10 doors that I have. At some point, I will probably bump it up to 40, 50,000, but typically I like to stay within 3 months of rent per rental, right? Um, to have it saved in reserves, at least 3 months.
Yeah, and I'd like to say like, oh yeah, I have this much in reserves. I don't. That's something I'm working on right now is to build up my liquidity. that's what I got to do this year, or 2025. Which kills me not to buy anything, but I gotta build up my reserves. That's my main focus in 2025, just to and potentially sell something, just to make sure, like, reserve wise, I'm good. Because I've just used it for so many different things that have popped up. New furnace, like what Vasily was saying. Just things keep popping up. Just gotta manage your portfolio and figure out what the best way to stay alive, keep going, and get through any of the hard times.
Yeah, and you're right, guys, about it because like accumulating some reserve per property or for the portfolio, it just feels like it keeps someone sleep at night. It just it's a good feeling to have that reserve just in case. So yeah, like the goal is to accumulate some reserve. Not But to me, I'm not even worried about the amount of cash flow I have now as much as I am looking for like just to have enough reserve for the properties I have and so that if something happens, I don't have to uh, pull money from my account, but I wanna pull the money from the property account so that way for any reason I feel better about it. So yeah, totally true. It's a
Yeah, no, and that's another reason why I've been like growing slower or going slower on investing because I want to make sure also that I'm not only acquiring properties but also I'm keeping enough reserves so I don't lose any of the properties, right? Because it's not only about scaling up, but it's also about being able to survive, right? And not lose properties.
sleep at night.
So you got to keep a good balance between the two, I guess. Scaling up and staying protected, right, with enough reserves for any unexpected events, these properties.
Yeah, I would totally agree there too. I think initially I was at the grow at all cost phase. In the first couple of years, like I put debt on debt just to like try to get as much as I could. Because worst case scenario, I just go back to where I was at, which is working until 65. So it didn't matter to me at that point. So, but now that I'm at this level, it's like, all right, now I got to make sure I grow a little bit slower and have that liquidity reserve and put in place. So that's something I had to do internally this year versus when I was first starting.
Yeah, a lot of people lost their properties in 2008.
I did. We lost two. We lost a duplex and a single, but that was because we didn't know anything about investing in real estate back then. It's a little different this time around, but like you guys are saying, I think, you get to the certain point where I think Basilio said it, you want to make sure you don't lose what you've acquired. So originally Cynthia wanted to have like 10,000 a door. And, at first that sounded like an excessive amount, but this year we burned through most of it across all of our properties. So, now I'm thankful that she had set that goal for us. And now like Cody, we're just working to replenish that account before we pick up anything new. And it is tough because, you still look at your market every day, or we do anyway. I know Cody does, but, and knowing that you better not buy anything right now, until you get those reserves built back up. Because like Basilio said, I mean, just, you think everything's good. You got your inspection and everything's working and all, but it seems like heating units and air conditioners and water heaters they just go when you least expect it. Thanks, Jason. We'll see you soon. Go ahead, Mitesh.
Yeah, I knew a guy in Vegas. He was renting out to corporations his homes. He had a bunch of homes, and yeah, and then the corporations they didn't want to rent out anymore in 2008, and he lost all of his properties that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that brings a good point also about diversifying, right? Like that's another thing I'm trying to do also now. Like the next properties I'm buying, I want to buy them somewhere else. I mean, within the same market, but maybe in a different area to a different type of tenant. Like maybe I'll be buying next to a military base or something like that. So a different type of tenant. That way I can have some diversification there because you never know. Yeah, especially if you're only renting to a specific type of tenant or like a company or something like that. That to me, that right there is a single point of failure, right? I mean, all of a sudden something changes. Now you are at a big risk of losing all those properties, right? If you are dealing with high vacancy. So that is another good point too, you know?
Yeah, especially if you bought those properties based on higher rents from those companies, and
Right,
you
right,
don't think about the regular long-term rents that wouldn't probably carry that same property.
right. Yeah, that's a really good
And
point.
diversification means like you diversify. It can be diversification in location, but at the same time, it also may mean also that diversify the tenant portfolio, like they're not to pick up tenants who only work for one employer or some kind of that. So and I remember like Matt when he started, he rented only to construction people, and so he thought that business was great. And then that 2008 came, and he lost almost all his tenants. So yeah, that diversification. I haven't done diversification of location wise, but I like with my couple tenants I have they work different jobs. So yeah, but I was wondering about the different locations, and I mean it can be done, but uh it's just like I wonder how yeah, because like in my area, each area, each location or each city or each town around me here, there's a, there's plenty of jobs. Like it doesn't have to be one company. There's small companies and some good sized companies. And so I wonder if I move to, let's say, half an hour far or south, would that even, move the needle as far as changing the pool of tenants, because there's not just one employer around here. There's, you know, small and big, and some people work for the city and so on.
Yeah, what does Dion say? He's like 10 miles or something. He tries to keep 10 miles between his places.
Yeah, and I was wondering how useful that would be. Like in like yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense. Uh, but I wonder if if anyone had had any issue with that 10 miles with the dynamic, but it may you're looking at different locations, uh, so yeah, it kind of good strategy as well.
Yeah, I think in his market it probably makes sense. He's got the bases and different companies and things like that to consider. So your market is certainly going to play into that. Chester, did you have something you were going to share or wanted to share?
Can you hear me, Frank?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really quick. Still saying it's not sharing isn't turned on.
There,
But
I think it is now.
okay, let me try really quickly. Okay, there we go. All right. So, Anna and I had a little conversation a little earlier in the week about Hem Lane, and I know Jason had hopped off. I think he's already on Hem Lane, and I
Yeah, I think he does.
believe it should be sharing. I don't know if it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, so what I did was I just decided to look at the um look at all of the raw numbers from both Hemlane and then this is like kind of a traditional sort of breakdown or analysis in terms of looking at, whether Hemlane or going with a traditional property manager would be more cost efficient or effective. Um, and how I kind of set everything up was looking at it in terms of from the most practical standpoint of either you're going to look at the essential tier, which I believe is the one that Dion uses, or the complete tier, which is basically all the bells and whistles. You have access to literally everything, including their VIP support. Um, so those would be really the only two that would really kind of make sense to look at. So what I did in this spreadsheet was just literally like everything that belongs with to Hemlane on one side. I don't know if there are additional fees for property managers. Like the only thing I could think of was like the property management fee. I'm sure there probably are other things, but I just did this kind of like as a rough overview. So I'm sure there are probably um listing fees. Oh, am I drawing a blank on it? The oh gosh, I literally had it on the tip of my tongue. Leasing fees. So like once you get a tenant under contract, if the PM is the one who does it, like, there's of course fees, but that starts to kind of get things or make things a little bit more complicated because what you're really trying to look at is from an ongoing perspective, like month to month outside of like things that you can't really expect or control for, like, unexpected emergencies or things like that. So just looking at it from that sort of like ongoing routine level basis, I started looking at, okay, what types of things are common among both the Hemlane platform and the property manager. So that's why I said right now I've only got the PM fee, and I'll try to think of like some other things. But that's the spreadsheet that I put into the chat as well. So it basically is just covering like the main things of like, hey, let's say like these are my like actual numbers here of, what the PM is charging me for the monthly PM fee. I hate saying the same word over and over again, but just the PM fee, and then looking at if I was to go with Hemlane, how much would it cost on a monthly basis to use Hemlane versus the PM fee. So these two boxes are basically kind of showing you, hey, here's what you can expect. And then on the far right-hand side over here, this is basically kind of telling you like all of the numbers that you need that are like the most important. Like where would both of these numbers, like how much rent would you have to have in order for it to be like a 50-50 toss up? So here it's telling you it would be $1,067. So under rents, based on however many properties you've got, if I was to just 1,067. So, again, it's close because it's not like, perfectly exact, but it's like close enough where you see like, okay, how much of a difference would it be? And then uh property man which management platform, I guess, would make the most sense to either go with Hemlane or go with your, whoever your traditional property manager is. So um that was just kind of like a quick sort of overview, and it kind of provides you like all of the numbers as well. So like after the um platform fee for Hemlane, or after the PM gets their cut on a monthly basis, and it of course doesn't include things like um pity payments, because I mean, of course you can add those in, but it'll start to kind of get a little bit out of control, especially the more properties you have. So, this is something that's just kind of like, straightforward, kind of nuts and bolts. Um, I'm adding a little bit more detail down here. So like if anybody like is like going into the spreadsheet and like trying to figure out like, hey, some of the cells are locked and stuff like that. But that was one of the things, like when I told Anna, I was like, hey, I'm still doing a little bit of research or homework on it. So I was like, just put something together, and told everybody, I'd come up with something so that we can kind of like really kind of have that, quote unquote bottom line up front sort of comparison. So um, it lets depending on or based on the combination of how much of a PM fee and based on the amount of rent you're getting, comparatively speaking, would it be more sensible to use Hemlane or use whoever your current PM is? So it's like I said, nothing where it's like super duper detailed, but enough numbers where you know you don't have to like do too much like analysis. It's kind of like gives you a quick overview. Hey, here's what you can expect from each platform.
It seems like when you when you have a property not in your market, or a remote, you're a remote investor, that having a property manager seems more advantageous, uh, versus him laying, um, from the numbers, because then you have someone there, uh, taking care of it, hopefully taking care of the property, or not, but at least it's a property manager versus a software. But it seems like um, a software, like I use Avail.co, and it costs me maybe $9 per property, and I manage my couple properties with that software, and it's compared to the property management, it's way less, uh, and way less cost than if I have to hire property manager in my local market. So I just feel like the property manager may be necessary if your property is not in your market. But if it is, then it's way more advantageous if you if you use your if you get that software to work with it. And I think there's a little bit on Hemlane that they have a platform fee, versus, like in my case, there's no platform fee, but if I have more properties, then it will add up. Then in that's when I may have to find another a property management, like the one that Matt uses. That will probably even be uh, no less no less costly if I have more properties on the prop the platform I'm using now. So yeah, that's what I see. That's just my opinion on what you presented. Tessa.
Yeah. So no, that I mean, definitely good points, Sam. And uh this, like I said, even though it was something that I was like looking at last week and I was like, really wanted to kind of dig into it. Again, there are a ton of variables that, depending on whatever is best for, your unique situation. The reason why I was like I said, in talking with Anna, we were looking very closely at this, and I believe for the first year in the, I want to say in addition to the numbers that we're seeing for the annual, because they are a little bit higher with monthly, but if you go with annual billing, I believe for the first year, I believe it's both Zuber and Dion, you get a discount of, I believe, an additional either 10 or 15% off of these prices here. So, like, it's an even bigger discount on top of simply going with the annual amounts. And for me, from seeing that, you get literally everything here, because like I said, with remote, um, or investing at a distance, if you will, it only makes sense to look at the complete package. So like these numbers here, like this $96 per month, this this is something where, at least from what I've been able to tell, this is a one-time $28 platform fee. Now, of course, that would change the numbers significantly if it's $28 per platform fee per unit, which I don't see why they would need to charge the $28 platform fee for every single unit when they're charging 68 per unit. So that's the only thing that I haven't gotten 100% clarity on. So that's why I said when I, had um the spreadsheet up here, it looked like it was only a one time, every month it's $28. And then depending on whichever tier you use, basic, essential, or complete, depending on however many units. But I believe you were talking about door loop for the Verp. I think it's called door loop.
Yeah,
Or
door loop is the one, and and if if I get if I let's say if I get more properties in the future, it seems like the door loop would be cost effective versus now right now Avail.co is more cost effective for me just because of the number of units I have. I don't have many, but with I have a couple, but with if I have more properties, I think door loop would be more cost effective. Uh, that that's my idea, and I think you were talking about the platform fee. I think when I talked to him, they mentioned that it's just one time platform fee. So if you add more properties, you don't pay per property. You pay one time uh, for all your portfolio, basically.
okay, and that's what I was thinking. So what it would look like is, so right now, and the numbers do match up where it's showing $96 for the one property, matching up here with the 96 per month. But then say, for example, I get another property, and I'm gonna just put some random numbers in here. So 1,500. And then the one thing it does as well, it'll double check to see, hey, it looks like you've got a mismatch between the number of units and the number of rents that are showing up. So once I change this from 1 to 2, then it'll say the unit count matches, and again with the green and the red or whatever. So you'll know that, hey, everything's good or something's off. And then it'll automatically update for how many or how much the total cost for all of the units is on that tier. And then it'll give you the total cost. So it's 164 here, but if I was to go with the PM, it's a little over 250. So then you see, the more properties and the higher the rents, it seems like based on whatever your PM fee is, that's what's really going to determine um how much better or worse one platform is than the other. I say platform, but how much better or worse one property management um group is than the other. So like I said, at least for me, it seems like it only makes sense to look at the complete tier. And as long as, you don't have like a ridiculously low PM fee, it seems like you're really going to kind of make out with Hemlane for everything that I've seen. But again, same thing with like your total rent amount. Like if it's, fairly low rents, it probably makes more sense to go with a PM. But again, it's something I actually do need to make one small update, so I'm gonna finish working on this and then re-upload it into the chat. But this, like I said, this was something I wanted to provide to everybody because I did say I was gonna, take a little bit closer look at this to kind of see from that sort of cold hard numbers perspective of, at the end of the day, you're getting all of these services on the complete tier, and would it make sense? Because that was one of the things I was always wondering, like in terms of like for with Dion, as far as, you know, the um it seems like personal choice really to go with him going with the essential tier on a regular basis. But then on top of that, he's got um basically the ability to self-manage essentially. So this is almost kind of like a um hybrid, if you will. So for me, it would make sense to do or to look at the complete tier. So it's like I said, really kind of um unique circumstances. So, I definitely recommend for everybody who wants to consider whether it be Hemlane or whether it be, one of the other platforms. But like I said, I've got this one here. So, uh, definitely is available for everybody to be able to use.
Hey, uh, can I speak um about this one? So this is Anna. So I was talking to Chester because you are interested in using this. So I'm gonna be very brief because it's already 9 o'clock in our time, and I know it's getting everybody probably wants to go to sleep. Really short. I was looking at the Hemlin I self manage my area, and then also I have remote investing with the PM. I was only looking at the Hemlin to do the functionality of listing my property vacant unit into multiple platforms. And also, I kind of like that because people do apply through Zillow or apartment.com that all goes to the Hemlin platform. So I can coordinate all the different multiple platforms listing into Hemlin. So that was what I was looking for. But Chester, when it comes to Hemlin versus remote investing, that's a whole different animal. It's not a interchangeable product that I don't think. It's not just a cost benefit analysis in the numbers. It's what you are looking for. So yeah, I'm interested in, um, I guess I need to sign up and then start using one But to replace my remote investing with Hamlin would be in the future if it works. So that's all I wanted to say. If some of you are wondering what Ann is talking about, I was interested in two things: listing my vacant unit to a multiple platform in one, and then also collecting rent through Hamlin. And looks like some of the people are using BaseLane for collecting rent, but the manually, posting multiple platform or linking them on your own. So I'm not technically savvy, and I just wanted to have it into one platform and then collect the rent at the same time. But I haven't 100% bought in yet. I'm still looking. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah, Chester, that's what I was talking about. But I know you are interested in remote investing, so I reached out to you because I did talk to a representative, sales rep on the other day, and you just wanted to chat. But something that we need to kind of keep an eye on. But yeah, this is one of those things that it's nice if a lot of people have experience and we can chat, but I digress.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense.
So to me, the platform is not really that important. It's whoever puts the information in. That's what's important. The other thing is the property manager. If you get a good one, they're going to save you money on repairs.
If you get a good one.
Yes.
You gotta get a good one. But yeah, but the Hamlin platform only charges 4.5 star vendors. Probably put it into all one platform in Hamlin. So it's probably like a mixture of Angie's List, Thumbtack, whatever the local apps that they use. They just to pick up all those 4.5 point star vendors into the platform, and then they will try to negotiate from there. If you use a PM locally, if you get a good PM, they usually have a network of vendors or the whatever the contractors who would be willing to work at a discount for the PM because they get a lot of jobs from them. You might save a little bit more money. If you have a bad one, like the one that I've fired here locally, they don't do a good job. So you still have to keep an eye on it. I'm not really sure. I just have to. I'm short in remote investing. It's only for my 4th year. So I'm still learning. So, and you're absolutely right. Anything that Hamlin, you have to enter on your own financials, posting and everything. They're not going to do that for you. But if you have a PM, they'll do everything for you, take pictures and everything too. But yeah, it's just a matter of what you are looking for, to tailor your needs. I think that's what the decision point would be.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is based on, the best expense, if you will, is a good property manager. And that's really kind of the reason why I started looking at Hemlane, is because I was like, okay, this is not a good property manager, because I'm like, a
Yeah.
lot of the things that like
Yeah.
they like, now, just not to go like too deep into the weeds, so to speak, but like some of the things necessary to get the rental in up to code and in compliance for Detroit, I found myself doing basically everything that was necessary to the point where I have been getting um, texts and calls and emails from other fellow Detroit investors asking me about things that I've had to do in terms of getting everything set up and getting the property um, certified. It's called a certificate of compliance, but to be able to get the certificate of compliance, and this was something like I'm only finding out after the fact that the property manager was like, "Oh yeah, this is something that we could do, that we could coordinate for you for an additional fee, but you'll still be responsible for paying for the inspections and paying for any remediation and paying for any reinspection." So I was like, why am I finding this out after the fact? One, and then two, if you're charging me money to do something that I could have figured out myself, like I I understand the convenience portion of it, but it wasn't like this was something that was like ridiculously difficult to do. Like, yeah, it did require a little bit of homework, but yeah, that's why I was just like, this is frustrating to the point where there are so many things where I'm not getting information and I'm like, hey, I don't bug you guys, but I do ask for stuff and ask for it and ask for it and ask for it. And I'm like, any professional, organization would, hey, maybe it slipped off your radar after the first time. I'll send you a follow-up, after a few days, not three, you know, 3 weeks, a month later, following up like 6 times for something. I'm like, I need, these documents, and, people are sitting on them and just not responding. So that's really where this came from. That's so, without going too far down the rabbit hole, where a lot of the frustration came from and what prompted me to really take a deeper look into Hemlane. So, like Anna said, it's after midnight here and 9 p.m. there. So I'm gonna hop off the soapbox.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you doing the spreadsheet and explaining everything that you did. And I agree with you. I don't see myself using something like Hemlane being a remote investor, but I think unless you try it and experience it yourself, you won't have a comparison. So we'll look forward to any changes that you make to your spreadsheet, Chester. Maybe we could take a peek at them next week. And my
Chester is a genius for the Excel. You are way above my level. That's amazing.
Yeah, you guys don't want to see how many spreadsheets I have open at work. It on any given day, it's at least no less than half a dozen. It's really bad. It is really bad. Like,
Oh, Chester, if I have one, I'll send it to you. It's not gonna be too bad after a dozen open there.
yeah, it's like literally you could nickname me, or my middle name could be Excel. It's crazy. So, but yeah,
And I
so that's
just want to say, Chester, it's hard to find the right property management first. So, be patient.
yeah, that's really why I was like,
I
all
would
of
I
the
would
little
check I would check Detroit. I mean, to do a keyword search on Detroit or what is it? Michigan. Let's
Mhm.
talk to people and see if they're using a good property manager.
So, and funny enough, like, and maybe it's just, I've got to look in other places, but I've, been on think it's like 5 or 6 different Facebook groups, and I'm asking around, and I'm really not getting any responses. Like, getting things like, you know,
You
solicitations for like contractors and stuff, but
yeah,
no
use
PMs.
use ORAT. Use ORAT. Do a keyword search by Detroit or Michigan.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on
So,
I think there's a members list. You can search members.
now, are you talking about in school, or is this the regular one
Yeah,
run all of the time?
the school. Yeah, and then the ORAT group.
Okay, so I've got to sign. I still haven't signed up for that yet. So that's definitely on the to-do list. Um, but yeah, so that's definitely another avenue that I can look at. So that I might make that a New Year's, whatever you call it, resolution or goal, whatever the thing is. Do that and then poke around because I know Zuber usually will announce when somebody has signed up or joined school, so I can do that. I will make that a to-do list item.
Like $15 a month.
More homework or not again? Why?
All right, you guys.
Hey, I got one question.
Mhm.
On the bathroom, what do you call it? The thing that controls the water, the valve. I had somebody look at it, and the guy wants to change the cartridge inside. It's a Delta, but the guy wants to charge 149, and then like another $100 for the cartridge. Like, isn't that a bit much? But the other thing is like, I need this thing to like last because this thing like it stopped controlling the water like 6 months into me putting it in. Like, not me, but I had somebody put it in. So is there like a valve that'll last a long time?
Did you?
What's happening? What's happening? The water is coming out from the top and the bottom.
Is it a tub shower?
It's a walk-in shower with it's got the faucet and the handheld shower at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is the water is coming out of both ends.
Did it always do that?
No, it's only like a year old. I had
So
it refurbished.
yeah, so in the beginning it was working correctly.
Yeah, it would
Oh.
yeah, it would route the water where it needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I would pull up on the faucet, which would block the water, and then the water would start coming out from the top.
So it's only a shower. It doesn't have a tub spout.
No, the spout is the faucet at the bottom. I guess you could say the spout's at the bottom. So the spout, I block the spout, and then the water will start coming out from the top.
Yeah.
That's how it worked before, but now I stopped the bottom, but the water still comes out.
Well, you could just need to replace the tub spout because when you pull up the little lever on the spout, there's a little door that blocks where the water fills in for the tub. So if that's broken or the rubber's missing, it won't stop the water from coming out the bottom.
No, I mean I can feel it block it, but the water pressure just it doesn't stop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a valve. The valve's I need a valve that controls the water rather than the faucet controlling the water, or the spout, spout. Isn't there a valve that controls the water out there?
Well, no, when you have a tub spout and a shower head, lifting up the part on the tub spout is what blocks the water and forces it up the shower head.
But
If
I would think there's a valve out there that would you can control the water on the valve side of things instead of having the spout do the blocking. And design wise, that would make more sense.
let me think here. Yeah, they're a little bit more expensive, and it would cost a lot to get that put into your system now because you got to open up the wall and everything. But there are directional, but usually it has an on-off that regulates the temperature, and there's a separate, like we have one in our shower, it's a separate control. You turn it up for the shower head and you turn it down for the tub. That's a whole different setup than what you have. And they would have to get into the wall to replace that.
Redo the piping too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating that you have to like use the the spout to control the water.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard system that you have there. I would try changing the tub spout first, maybe get a little bit more expensive tub spout that would have a
But no,
better.
I mean I'll block the spout using my hand and it won't stop the water. So yeah, it's the valve. And okay, the other bathroom I have, that's also the same problem where the water comes out of the top and bottom. But this is a 3-knob, and I had somebody look at it. It's the middle one that controls the water.
Yeah.
And he wanted to change the cartridge in the middle one on that one.
Yeah, that makes sense because there's a when you pull that middle valve out, there's a rubber washer at the back end that blocks the water. So if the washer is not very expensive. So you take the middle cartridge out, you replace the washer on the back end of it and put it back in, and that should take care of that one. But the other one, so on the other one, it's a single lever that just controls the water flow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it controls the temperature, so it's actually like only a quarter. Like you turn it only 1/4, and it's if you turn it all the way up, it's warm.
Yeah.
And it starts out cold.
Yeah, but as soon as you open that up, it goes top and bottom. So I really think you just need to get a better tub spout because
okay,
I understand what you're saying, and even putting your hand over it wouldn't stop the pressure. But and it's weird thinking that little flapper inside the tub spout would control it, but it will. Just get a good brand. You said that was Delta. Delta doesn't usually have that kind of an issue.
Well, I guess it's my luck.
Yeah, but I would try that first because that's a pretty inexpensive part, probably between $20-$30, and it just unscrew it.
I have a lifetime warranty on all the parts, so
yeah,
I'll get out my receipt and go bug them.
Yeah, sometimes if you can find the same set, so they probably carry that one at Home Depot. If you buy the same set, take the tub spout and swap it, and then just bring the other one back.
Okay. It's just annoying because stuff should last longer than 6 months.
Yeah, it should. And I mean, unless your water is like really hard or something and it corroded that little part so it's not sealing, that might be something too.
Yeah, I guess it's got to get the right part and pay for it. Pay for the correct part that can handle that stuff because it shouldn't be like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just like so frustrating.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Okay, kids. we'll be seeing you next week, I hope.
With a Santa on a sleigh.
On Christmas.
Oh, yeah, Mikey and I were joking about that. I'll be here in case any of you are lonely. All right.
Well,
That's a good
we-
opportunity. Yeah.
I'm figuring they probably will do like some lives, like probably Dion and maybe Zuber or Matt. I don't know because I know he'll be with his wife and kids.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I
Well,
know.
we'll be around, and Chester, not to push you to join school, but Dion's supposed to be on there at 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh wow. That's pressure right there. That's some real pressure right there.
I think he's talking about 3 mistakes he made or something. Let me see. It says, yeah, Dion, top 3 mistakes I made.
All right. Well, nothing like good old peer pressure, guys.
There you go. Glad we could help.
Well,
All right.
I will think about it for sure. But yes. So I do have stuff to do tomorrow, so you may see me, you may not. I can't guarantee one way or the other.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out. Okay,
Alrighty.
guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Alrighty. Thanks
Good
everybody.
Talk
night.
to you soon.
All right, guys.